Welcome to J is for Justice podcast. If live breaking news and following true crime is your thing, then please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you like what you see in my videos, please consider giving them a thumbs up.
Roberta.
Good Friday, everybody. Welcome to J is for Muted. I caught it this time, y'all. I caught it. Happy Friday. Welcome to J is for Justice. My name is Jay. I am unmuted, and I am your host. And if you like what you see, please do hit that thumbs up and consider subscribing. Thank you. Woo! At least I caught it, though, right? At least I caught it. Oh, man. So, hey. How is everybody? I hope you guys are doing good. It's Friday, and we're going to be opening up the lines for you guys. But before we do, I want to introduce Bella and Summer. We're like the Brady Bunch over here. Where you going? Come on. Summer, stay with me. Summer. They don't know what they're doing. Happy Friday, though. But before we get into taking your calls on the Idaho 4 case, because there's a lot that's happened, right? I want to go over something that for sure, Audra D, for sure. So I want to go over this video that I found and obviously, give this person credit, because it's pretty amazing. And then secondly, I want to, kind of talk about the stricter, someone corrected me on my grammar, by the way, in my title. I didn't know if it was more strict or stricter, and I really didn't have the time to look. So we know that it was gagged, and then it was gagged further, right? So further squelching, however you want to say it.
Tampa.
I mean, that's how we say Tampa. This is how we say Cuba. Cuba.
God almighty. Fucking fuzzy slippers and lip gloss.
Okay, so let's first talk about this video. More gagged. Mucho gago. Okay, so this is made by Dear Life, etc. This has been out for roughly 4 weeks, and it only has 600 views, which I was really surprised about. So let me put the link into the chat. Let me come over here. Okay, there's her channel. Shut your pie hole. Shut your pie hole, lady.
No offense, but shut your pie hole, lady.
Don't you love how she goes, like that's Nancy doing that at me.
No offense, but shut your pie hole, lady.
Hi, Hillary.
Grandma just called and said you're supposed to go home.
So yeah, when we do open up the phone lines, we're gonna go over some rules then.
Did I ask them to do that?
And yeah, we'll talk about that when the time comes. But I want to get to this video because it's super interesting, and let's get into it. And this is called Update, Finishing Idaho Moscow 4 Homicide House, 1122 King Road.
Hey guys. So I'm still continuing to do the Idaho house. And this is the house where 4 college students died in their rooms. 2 died in the 2nd floor and 2 died on the 3rd floor. So this room I'm working on is the room that I believe Bethany used to stay in.
So that's the downstairs, right?
Doing the updates of the inside of the house. Now I don't really know where the bed goes here. I didn't have that. It was just this storage, like a shelf here.
No, that's
but
not
then
me.
They added these up on the top. So that's why I'm doing this like that. So this is how it looks like from the inside.
So that's the downstairs.
Hardwood floors, closet. Okay.
It kind of looks like the newer version of the house. They even changed the wood flooring. Some of them looks like this rich cherry. And then in the newer pictures, or it might be the older pictures, it shows really lighter wood. This probably
I don't know what her room has to do. Well, the whole house has to do with the quadruple murder. I mean,
that's the video.
It gets more in detail than that.
It wasn't dark wood. It was more like a cherry wood.
We don't even really need to listen to it. I'm just I want you guys to visualize, like just see the visual. This is a different visual than I've seen prior. But Fire Up, do you know her? Because I noticed you said Beth. I've never heard her referred to as Beth. But I mean, if so, no harm in this. This is just somebody that did a version of the house in 3D, and her room happens to be in the house.
Also, and they changed that too. So I'm assuming this is the newer version, the updated wood. There's a door there. Underneath the stairs, we looked at the stairs here, there is, in this room, there's a little door here, maybe like a storage place right here, and it's like so.
Oh, like a cubby.
So there's like a little place, a little door here. I didn't see that before.
Okay, so that she just answered your own question, because they figured out that there's new things that were not in the first renditions, and she's adding them to make it more accurate.
It's like this little door, like for electricity.
Yeah, the fuse box.
The middle right there. Okay. So before this software, this app, they hadn't created an option for a roof. So all my houses that I created here didn't have a roof. And now, when I came back a couple of months ago, if you needed to make the roof.
Okay, cool. Let's get back to the house.
All right. So we don't know how the laundry room looks.
I don't know
like.
why they're focusing so much on the bottom. I guess because they just want to make it perfect.
There's a pole going across.
But I mean, they're adding like studs and shit. Like,
there's a pole
crazy.
going across this.
Like
I
you
don't
can
know if I
actually
wanna
see where they
that
added
detail.
on, you know?
But I'll probably add the poll. I don't know if I should add it now. I remember. Maybe this couch is way too big.
Exactly, Susan. Exactly. It just helps you visualize what the layout is, you know, when we talk about these things.
All right. I'm sorry if you hear a lot of noise. The kids watching TV upstairs. And this one is much smaller.
Xana's room is pretty small too, huh?
Bigger. In here. This.
I mean, we're not going to watch this entire thing. I just wanted to show you guys because she's
Down.
continually working on it. And if you
Mhm.
go to her channel, she's got, I think, other videos as well.
Yeah.
She's playing another video and to get hers, you know, correct or whatever. But watch.
Steps. Left. Now. Steps go third floor.
I think it's interesting when people, I could watch someone do stuff like this. Like I could never do this. I just don't, I don't think I could. That's what I would have. I'd have doors on the roof and stuff. I'd never be able to pull it off.
Yeah, so I did the hill. And then I put next some.
So you know
sidewalk
what's
here.
interesting here?
Is
If Koberger was watching, if this is truly where the bed was in here, you'd have to be on a certain angle to see her, like if she was on the bed or in the bed or, you know, you'd have to be like over, like by the neighbors. You know what I mean? Like based on, I mean, at least what it looks like on this angle. Let's take another look. And do we even know where the bed was for certain? Because I've never heard for sure. But look at how you're on like the side of the house, like where that little, you know, how it was all overgrown and the cops walked up that little pathway to the back. You'd be over there, like in those weeds to be able to see in. It's on this angle, anyhow, it looks like.
next some sidewalk here. This area here. And then like a rug here.
Yeah,
so
she
that's
is
how it
very
was in
calming,
pictures.
isn't she?
Okay, I'm done.
Time to panic.
I'm upset about Pastina being discontinued.
Oh, that ended. I'm like, is that a commercial? I don't know. I have premium.
The house where
So yeah, I'll also put this in the description after the video is we're done with this live. But I did want to share that with you guys because I thought it was interesting because it's a work in progress. You know, it's not something that's done by any means. But I do want to play. I'm going to open up the phone lines next. I'm going to put the link in the chat and then I'll pin it. But before we do that, I wanted to share this story. This is 3 days ago in Oregon. And I'm sure I'm going to get ripped on for saying it. Oregon. Pronunciation of these towns and states, I'm getting ragged on the daily. So Spokane, Moscow, freaking Oregon, whatever. It is what it is.
Workers at
It really, really is what it is. But I wanted to share this video because it's a little scary.
Workers at one local business say they feel violated and want answers after being targeted in an armed robbery.
It was all caught on camera, and now police are asking for your help to track down Fox 12's most wanted. Our So Young Kim spoke with the manager of Foxy's and joins us in studio with the details. So Young.
Nora, Pete, she says she's thankful nobody was injured, but says the suspect did manage to get away with more than $1,000. No matter the time of day, the manager at Foxy's in Tigard says usually the vibes are laid back and fun.
Our music varies, so every day, every bartender brings you a different feel.
But on New Year's Eve, she says employees came face to face with a scary situation.
She was absolutely stunned at someone coming up to you in a life-threatening manner.
Tigard police say Foxy's on Southwest Pacific Highway was robbed on the morning of December 31st, just after 11 o'clock, and say it was all caught on camera. Take a look. Here you can see the man investigators say is responsible walking towards Foxy's front door.
We have him directly, like in front of our cameras.
Look at him.
Basically a full eye view of our entire bar, except for his face was covered.
Then he walks in and looks around before walking up to an employee.
Addresses our bartender and is just like, give us all the cash out of the drawer.
Next, we see him behind the counter, and as you can see here, officials say he had a gun.
That she did see him pull something out towards her.
Then he quickly rushes out the door. Foxy says they hope by sharing their story, their community can get some closure.
We care a lot about our people around us, and knowing that somebody is out there who is capable of such things is, we don't want it. We want to be able to help figure it out and stop it.
Man is just over 6 feet tall and of medium build. They're asking anyone with information to contact Tigard Police. Live in studio.
Scary. I don't know where Tigard is, but I saw that and I was like, that's scary. Someone says, is that a Pet Boys jacket? Look at these nasty comments about this reporter. That is terrible. People are disgusting. You know what? Ugh. All right.
Just into our newsroom, a Latah County judge issued an amended gag order in the Moscow murders case. In this new document, the judge clarified who the non-dissemination order applies to and clarifies specific aspects of the case they're not allowed to comment on. Along with investigators, law enforcement, prosecutors, and the defense, the updated order also specifies that attorneys representing victims, their families, or any witnesses can't comment on the case publicly unless they're directly quoting or referencing public record.
As the excitement grows for the return of Cougar football this weekend, Pullman police are sending out a warning about a man who was on campus posing as mask enforcement. Now, we caught up with our Morgan Trout, who was on WSU's campus.
Okay. So the link is in chat if you guys want to take a link. The only rule is I need your camera on when you're backstage. You can turn it off before you come up. If it's not on, I'm kicking you because I'm not dealing with these nuts.
Tamper.
Maybe it's we have to stand
this story here was a year ago, and it only got 252 views. This is so crazy. But let me see who's popped backstage. Who is the first victim today? That would be I Call BS. Hey, girl. Are you going to keep your camera on or are you going to turn it off? Because you can turn it off before we go on if you want. I can't hear you, but if you want to turn it off, turn it off.
See who's popped backstage. Okay. Who's the first victim today? Second one would be.
Oh, you're going to have to either mute your YouTube or pause it. One of the two. Okay.
I did the wrong thing.
No, I can hear you. You're good.
Oh, no.
Can you hear? Can you hear me?
Oh, you're good.
Hey, HJ.
Hey.
Okay. I Call BS. You're gonna have to mute or pause your YouTube so you don't have an echo.
First of all,
I don't even know what she's listening to. That doesn't even sound like my live.
Mm-mm.
Okay, I can't deal with that. What's up, AJ? HJ?
Hey.
Let me make sure. Wait, hold on. Let me switch gears here. Hey. Okay. We weren't on the right screen. Now they can see you, or Elon, rather.
Can they hear me?
Yes. You're live.
Oh, okay, cool.
You're live. What's on your mind today? Happy Friday to you.
I will. Happy Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about this new gag order.
Okay. Let's discuss it. So, do we think it's because, this is my question, do we think that it's because of the PA lawyer that keeps doing interviews, or what?
I do. I think he's a big part of it.
Yeah, because he's done one, I think, up until 2 days ago. And he keeps saying, like, you know, talking about the holes in the case that, you know, the defense is going to have. And I think it was like, okay, dude, your notoriety or whatever it is over. Do you think that's what he's doing it for, though?
Yeah, I think he just wants his 10 minutes of fame.
Yeah. It's kind of sad, isn't it?
It's very sad.
It's kind of sad. It's like kind of grifting.
Yeah, it's not kind of, it is.
But he's the chief public defender there. Did you know that?
I didn't know he was the chief.
He is. Yes, I found that out today, actually. That he is the chief public defender. So what do you make of that?
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Just like the woman, right? She's the chief public defender in whatever that county is.
That I could understand them, like her, her being, excuse me, her being assigned to his case in Idaho because, like, this is a huge case. He's going to need somebody extremely experienced. But just for an extradition over in Pennsylvania, why give him the chief? And why is this chief defender, like, unethical almost? I would think it's unethical.
Well, yeah. I mean, if the judge had to, I mean, if it is because of him, like she had to further alter an already in place gag order, that should be self-explanatory to attorneys. So that, I mean, she rather, already shut down the family's attorneys, correct? Before this? Yeah, so Shannon Gray couldn't talk anymore either. But now it's gone a step further, and it says here in this article that the main difference between the gag order previously and now is previously the order just prohibited parties from sharing the following: evidence, the character, credibility, reputation, or criminal record of an involved party, results, performance, or refusal to participate in any tests or examinations, any opinion, quote, as to the merits of the case or the claims or defense of party, end quote, and any information that could interfere with a fair trial. That's very broad. Like that last one.
Yeah, that's extremely broad.
Now listen to this, though. This is in the Idaho Statesman publication. They go on to say the Latah County Clerk's Office declined to provide any clarity, stating that they can't, quote, interpret the order. When asked if there was someone who could interpret the order, the Statesman reporter was told no. What? Idaho Judicial Branch spokesperson Nate Papino told the Idaho Statesman by that it's not unusual for the clerk's office to decline to comment on an order. He said, quote, judge speak through their order. Court staff cannot provide legal advice or interpretation of what those orders mean, and we always refer back to the orders themselves.
Okay, that's understandable.
And they're
They don't want to
probably
put
sick
words
of-
in the judge's mouth.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty slippery slope there to start,
Yeah.
But it was just kind of funny, like no. Like we were told no. Like
No.
FDO, you're not getting shit. And I'm sure that they're sick of, all the press coverage, and I'm sure they're inundated with requests and whatnot. So
Absolutely.
welcome to the panel, Haley.
Hey.
Hey you, what's happening?
So I'm just like cleaning my glasses and I'm just intently like, oh, they're so knackered. Yeah, no, I'm good. How are you?
Very good. I call BS. You still have an echo. And it's like it's music.
Ew.
I think I'm being hosed by this chick. Okay, bye. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why she's playing rap music in the background. I mean, obviously that's not part of the discussion. So, welcome, Miss Hillary Haley.
So hey, yeah, Hillary's in the house.
So, what do you think of this further gag order?
Well, to be honest, I've not heard loads. I've had a bit of a busy day today, so I've not kind of heard loads. So I'm just kind of like, just kind of catching up a bit now. But it does seem very, broad. In a way,
part of it, yeah.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I get the gag orders. I get all of that. And obviously, none of us want to jeopardize the case or see anyone else jeopardize the case. I don't know. There seems to me to be more to it. Like there's a message there.
You think so?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, I
what?
do a bit. Well, I'm just wondering I'd love to be a fly on the wall in that defense office right now.
Oh, I
And
know, right?
yeah, kind of. What are they? Yeah, what are they looking at? What are they kind of focusing on? Yeah. So I'm not quite sure how we should be taking that at the moment.
Well,
yeah.
I don't really know either. But I think it's because, I mean, if you look, like that lawyer has been doing a lot of interviews.
She has.
Well, no, the dude in Pennsylvania is who I'm talking about. LaBar.
Okay, yeah, but he's got the woman as well, hasn't he?
No, I'm talking about the dude in PA.
Oh, okay.
The guy in PA is the one that's given a lot of interviews.
Yeah.
This LaBar guy. But here in the Idaho Statesman, right here, check this out. A coalition of at least 20 news organizations from around the region, including the Idaho Statesman, have retained an attorney to challenge the gag order.
Wow, yeah. That's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, the media it's just like we saw HJ in the Kristen Smart case.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they have a lawyer and they're saying, it should not be sealed like this. And I wonder because they're going to argue the freedom of the press.
Yeah, of course.
So they're challenging it. That's crazy. So we're going to have to look for that to be filed. If they've hired an attorney, I don't know if anything's been filed yet, but I'm definitely going to look. It would be in like federal court, I believe.
Yeah.
Because it's across the region, it said. Yeah, I don't know. Let me see if I can find anything on that. That's really interesting. I didn't catch that the first time.
Yeah, definitely we need to look into that a bit more.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's smart
Yeah.
Because we don't really need, like, evidence being leaked and shit like that, because then that's going to compromise the entire case. And then what happens, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I get that, but when we look at the, I can't think of the word. What was the affidavit? When we looked at the affidavit, I mean, that had so much information on it.
Mm-hmm.
So you wonder then. We knew so much just from that. I mean, that was amazing, the detail when that came out. So,
yeah, now it's like, then they said nothing, no press conferences, nothing. And now it's had to be taken a step further. And I can't help but notice, some of this wording of the things that they're including now, like the character of the victims.
Yes.
I mean, there are people. It says the character, credibility, reputation, or criminal record of an involved party, not even a victim, involved party.
I thought that was very interesting because I've never seen that on a gag order. That could be anyone. Once again, it's so broad. It's an umbrella term. It literally could be
Who's
anyone.
an involved party? I mean, who would be considered an involved party? Anybody in that town?
Well,
The
this
witness.
is it, isn't it?
Hmm?
The whole university. I mean, where does it stop?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know where it starts. I mean, I know it starts with the lawyers and the investigators, but I don't think any more parties have been added. I think it's just they've added that the parties are prohibited from publicizing information that would be inadmissible evidence and could risk creating an impartial trial if the information was disclosed. Okay, wait, let's listen to that again. So previously, it was evidence, character, credibility, reputation, criminal record of any involved party, the results of any test or refusal to take them, any opinion as to the merits of the case or claims of the defense, and then any information that could interfere with a fair trial, which could be anything. We don't know
Literally.
what could interfere. How could you know what would interfere?
Right.
So in other words,
exactly.
shut up. Don't talk about it at all. Like it didn't happen. So what they've added, let's take this bite by bite. Parties are prohibited from publicizing information that would be inadmissible evidence. So they're prohibited from sharing anything that would be inadmissible evidence.
Yeah.
So character, like,
what would be considered inadmissible evidence, I wonder?
Well, but that's what I'm trying to. That's what I can't get.
Rumors, speculation.
Well, let's see if we've got some examples because I'm not a lawyer. So,
hearsay.
Let's see. What is an example? Okay, hearsay is inadmissible.
Yeah.
Generally, to be admissible, the evidence must be relevant and not outweighed by countervailing considerations. So, in other words, if the evidence is unfairly confusing, a waste of time, privileged, or based on hearsay, which means social media and media, yeah, like media at all, probably.
Yeah.
So in other words, they're saying like, all these people that are watching TikTok, the TikTok sleuths are huge. They're huge.
Yeah, they are.
And they spread a lot of like theories and speculation. Now, granted, most of them say, this is just what I found. And we all know what that means, And I mean, not all people are going to take it with a grain of salt. Some people are going to take that as fact. And I think, could that hurt a jury in the future?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point, and I can see that. Now, I do TikTok. That sounds weird. I do TikTok. Anyways, just got a bit of a ring to it. Right, so I do TikTok, and my agenda with doing TikTok is that and actually I've got quite a few videos on there to do with the Idaho from the very beginning up to I know, actually about a week ago, so I need to just do another little one. But with mine, I make sure it's not about, I don't care about followers and all the rest of it. For me, it's about getting the facts out there. So I only ever deal with, I don't say that I'm speculating. I won't, it's usually videos that I've uploaded with my kind of twist put on it. In terms of design,
Right. I mean, I don't do TikTok.
Yeah.
I call it TikTok, but I don't do TikTok. So I don't really see everything that's out there, but I know that there's a lot of TikTok sleuths. I mean, look at the girl that, put the professor on blast,
Right.
That's an example right there.
Right. And so there's not very many people like me.
No,
who
I mean, there's not.
Just keep it to the facts.
But how much speculation can be spread nowadays? Like, think back to the Lacey Peterson case, right? The internet was new. Like, the internet was new, right? And we weren't like able to spread things like we are now. We had MySpace, I think, at that time. And it wasn't viral. Nothing went viral because we didn't have those platforms. Now we have multiple platforms.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to me that things are going to be done a little bit differently, and they're going to have to be more, tight-lipped. And I think that this case is going to be a learning experience for all of us, that content creators and listeners alike, because I think it's going to give us a little feeling of how things are going to go in investigations in the future, now that the media is boots on the ground, YouTuber, content creator, whatever, versus, waiting for NBC to get their news van together and get their news guy there and get a crew on site. It's no longer like that. So I think that, I'm going to sit back and really watch the dynamics of how they let things unfold or not unfold prior to these court hearings.
Absolutely. And also, are they going to go as far as to say that when they have that jury poll, are they going to be asked, do they watch YouTube? Do they watch TikTok? In other words, you've got to find someone, then you've got to find, so if you want that jury poll who have no knowledge of any of this,
it's interesting how they're going to do things in Delphi, right? They asked for the whole case to be moved, and the judge was like, no, that's not necessary. What they're doing is they're picking a jury from another area and bringing them there, which makes more sense to me than moving the whole damn trial. Why can't it still be done in that area with jurors that aren't from there, right? So the judge is giving the lawyers, the defense, choices of areas that they would like to see jury members pulled from. So,
and I get that.
I mean, do you think we might see that in Brian Kohberger's case? Because you've got two small towns and two huge universities, and not a whole hell of a lot around there.
No, that's right. But then again, is the area or location of the trial, does that become irrelevant when you're looking at the jury, because the jury have been able to have all of this information?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's tricky. And then do you take their word for it? How do we know that two people in that jury pool get picked haven't been sitting on YouTube listening to channels for the last?
Well, I mean, I guess that would be an overall question. Like, they don't have to necessarily say, have you watched YouTube? I mean, they pretty much have already done that. That's already something they ask, like media. Have you watched any news or, any media on this case? Is basically, it's
definitely going to be really interesting. Hi, Mary.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Hey, Mary, what's up?
How are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you all?
Very good. What do you think, Mary?
Oh, so many thoughts. I think that Jay may be onto something when you say they're blocking everything, just a
Yeah.
full almost gag order, because they just don't want anyone involved. No YouTube, no social media, no regular media, no
Nothing.
one. Friends, nothing. And I think that probably FOIA requests have been made, and it's been long enough that people have been able to do their due diligence, and the kind of, oh, that didn't happen, or oh, we don't have a report for that. I
Hi,
think maybe that
Poochies.
might be. Yeah, can you hear them?
Of
Sorry.
course. Yeah, we love
If
our
it
animals.
gets,
Me too.
I have
no,
my
don't ever
son
mute your
on the
dog.
quiet.
Don't mute your dog. I love
quiet.
No, man, animals are our like salvation here. No.
They are.
Well, true that. So I just think that I think they're trying to figure out how the heck to do this in this day and age when things are moving so fast.
Mm.
And what other way to keep it all at bay is to just flat out across the board, like put everything out there like nothing. You can't talk about anything.
Yep.
You know?
Mm.
I think we might be coming to a place in our justice system where instead of asking, hey, how much do you know about this case or do you not know about this case, it's going to be, have you made a decision? Are you open?
Yeah.
And then the type of character of the person as to how open they really are.
And again, you can only go on their word. I mean, it's a bit different. You know, like if we look at Scott Peterson with the strawberry shortcake woman. Now, obviously, she, you know, it came out afterwards that she had had some, you know, domestic abuse happen. So, oh, okay, so she lied about it, but we could prove that. We could prove that, okay, she did know, and she really wasn't she shouldn't have been sitting on that trial. However, to me, that doesn't, you know, he got found guilty, and that's all good. So what I'm trying to say is, when it actually comes down to asking people what they've seen or heard, then you've got to rely on them being honest. You can't prove it.
You never can, though. I mean, that's a chance you take in any case, right?
But when you're asked specific fact, like, have you ever suffered from physical violence or domestic abuse, and then you lie, that can be found out. But
yeah, I mean, that's the chance they take with any case, you know? I mean,
of course. Yeah.
I mean, you can get in trouble, right, for lying on purpose.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm just wondering, how is it going to work when you're asking somebody a question that you can't really disprove or prove?
Well, you don't. The lawyers get to decide, you know, they get to pick their jury members, right?
I mean, of course, yeah.
So they get to like go through them and say, nope, we don't want him, we don't want her. I mean, that's the whole process, is they get to weed through what they've got there and argue for or against, you know?
Yeah, with every case, right down to simple, you know, theft case. They get to decide. They know what they're looking for when they're vetting these jurors.
Yeah.
Especially in a death penalty case such as this.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think too, you know, we've had huge cases, you know, huge federal cases rather. You know, look at Timothy McVeigh's trial. You know,
I feel like we bring him up all
I
the
mean,
time.
he was on the cover of Time magazine and it said "The Face of Terror" before he was even tried in court. So, I mean, his trial still went through. So, I don't.
There's a difference between public opinion and our justice system, and you have to be someone who can walk in through the justice system and then say, I will only look at what is put before me. And
yeah, of course.
You know, it's not. Yeah, I think it's going to be harder to find people.
Yeah.
Or people are going to, you know, not be honest about their feelings on certain things. And I don't know. I mean, it could get sticky.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah,
what I
they
was
have
trying
body
to
language
get at,
readers
yeah.
and stuff
Yeah,
there.
they
So
do.
they'll have people to fine tune read them, like
Guys.
even if they're lying.
Yeah.
But they oh, I forgot what I was going to say because the delay messes me. So what
You was
screen am I supposed to look at when I'm on
you was
this?
just saying about the gagging orders and it being more difficult for them to find people.
I got emails. I'm sorry. I got a bunch of emails from Washington State University on my FOIA requests. Okay, so first one I got was the 18th, and I requested anything on that SWAT. 911, body cam reports, anything, and then anything on Brent Lee Kopaka and any employee records if available. So they wrote me back and they said, we hope to complete our review of records responsive to your public records request and respond to you by May 26th, 2023.
Holy
However,
crap.
wait, it gets better. There's several. However, more time may be necessary. Your record request for WSU records is not confidential. All public record requests are public records. The records responsive to a request may contain name identifiers, blah, blah, blah. WSU may send a notice to the people named in the records informing them that this will be disclosed. Okay, so let's go to the next one.
But what's the reason given?
It just says that's the date that there is no reason.
Just we're holding them.
Yeah, it'll be until at that date, and then they can extend it at that time.
They're probably inundated with requests like crazy.
Well, here's
right
another
now.
one. Okay.
Yeah.
A document has been released for record request 2370 along with the following message. Dear requester, records responsive to 2370 are exempt under the following statute. Student name and or identifiers. Education records have been withheld from release in with 20 U.S.C. 1232G of the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA, which ensures the confidentiality of students' personally identifiable information. Records protected under FERPA may be released with the prior written consent of the student or parent if the student is under 18. If you are requesting records with the student's consent, please return the attached FERPA waiver by February 17th. If we do not receive the notarized waiver by 5 p.m. Pacific time on February 17th, the request will be closed. Records that are not exempt under FERPA will be processed with an estimated due date of May 4th, 2023. Okay,
Yeah.
now here's another one. So they released it, but under this, whatever it was that they were releasing, I can't get anyways. This one says, I just got this
What
one.
was it you were asking?
I asked for any police reports, complaints, emails, phone calls, Kaylee Gonsalves. So I was wondering if she had maybe reported something to WSU police about something. So this is what I got in response to the remainder of my request on Kaylee Jade Gonsalves. We hope to complete our review of records responsive to your records request and respond to you by June 9th, 2023.
Mm-hmm.
When is his hearing in June? The 24th? Something like that?
Hold on.
26th?
I think it's the 26th, I think.
So June 9th is my furthest date now pushed out for
Yep, it
the
is
FOIA
26th.
requests.
So 2 weeks before the trial?
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
the prelim, not trial.
So that's where everything stands. I mean, I don't think it's because of their...
So I think...
I don't know. The first...
That's why the lawsuit of all those people, did you say everyone was getting together
the
and
news,
suing them?
The news. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because they can't even get these.
Probably because they're getting the same answer.
Yeah, I mean, they're like, you can't put us out until July. But what was interesting, too, is that in that gag order, it does say, like, when they released the search warrant, it was redacted still. And I don't know if everybody understands that they released a redacted version. And then also the judge said that it was going to remain a sealed case, but that the parties could release, or the state rather, could release redacted versions. So as they go, they can release redacted versions of anything that won't, hurt the case.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting.
Really interesting.
So I read those sentences multiple times as well, because I want to know if that really is, if what they gave us yesterday was in fact a full release of that particular document, or if they really are only giving us, 20% of it, and there's another, 10 things they took and they didn't put it out, but they'll put it out a little later on. I thought it was illegal for them to do that. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know that either.
So like to say if it came out on the PCA and to say we're only redacting these things, and then 2 months later say, but these things too were in there. I don't think legally they can do that.
But is there a clause in there that says, this is not like the entirety or anything like that? No?
No.
Well, that might be the problem.
I don't think so.
Can you answer me a question? Why that stuff is being stored at WSU Police Department? The evidence
That's a great question.
from Brian's apartment? Isn't that weird?
It's really weird.
It is very.
I was quite shocked when I saw that.
I mean, I know some people have told me and corrected me that they are a full scale police department.
Yeah.
I didn't picture campus police to be full scale. Okay. Like when my sisters went to college and I went to visit them, it was years and years and years ago, I don't believe the campus police were armed then, or at least at this college in Michigan. So I didn't expect there to be a SWAT team member on the campus police. Like I always felt like campus police was like where you started, like right out of the academy, and then you're going to, move up the ranks. Like you're not going to want to be a campus police officer, or maybe retire and be a campus police officer. So I didn't realize that it was a full-fledged department. So I'm sure they have evidence lockers and shit like that, like I would think. I mean, I don't know.
So the lawyer we listened to the other day in the hearings, the Moscow hearings.
Mule.
Yeah, Moscow Mule. The hearings that we listened to, and that lawyer was there, and he said you only have to graduate high school and then take, I don't even know what he said.
Oh, the committee
course. Yeah, and he was the committee hearing, and he was really upset about it, and he was saying this is a problem, and he came back like twice to say it, right? And so now you're saying, hey, this thing that when we hear, and I think campus police, I assumed at this point they were probably armed. I did not assume they were SWAT team members. I mean, that's intense. That's like in my neck of the woods, that's like state police type thing. Like you, I don't know. We don't just have those.
Right.
And I live in an area, a rural-ish area between two colleges. This is why this got so weird to me, because where I actually live, it's not so different geographically from the Washington, Idaho difference. Two colleges, that have 15,000 up people that descend on them each year, and they're 10-ish minutes apart.
Weird. Yeah.
That's
so the same culture, you're saying, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of people, and so I think the campus police are probably a lot more armed and trained than those of us who were in school in the 90s.
I mean, I found a video, okay, that I'm going to share with you guys right now from 4 years ago. Okay. I had no idea. Like I had never heard of this campus before. Like I've never seen it on the news. It's never been on my radar. But take a look at this. This is 4 years ago.
Okay.
And I was a little taken back that this, is campus police. So this is 2017. Oh, sorry. This is Pullman police. But this is a WSU student. But I have another video as well. Let's watch this one first.
Take a look at this. It is surveillance video of what happened when 2 officers tackled and tased a WSU student inside a convenience store near campus. A lawsuit has now been filed against the Pullman Police Department. That student, also a former WSU football player, has filed the suit, saying 2 of his officers used excessive force to arrest him without cause in 2017. KXLY4's Taylor Graham working for you tonight. She read through that lawsuit and watched the video today. Taylor?
Well, Nadine, we're still waiting on our public records request for that video from Pullman Police Department, but we did get a copy.
Pullman Police is so used to public record requests. It's crazy. I think they're pros.
From a website that tracks Whitman County news called Whitman County Watch. In the video,
so get this. They put that. This is so important because look, they put the news off with this public records request, but listen who got it. This is 4 years ago. Listen.
Records request for that video from Pullman Police Department, but we did get a copy from a website that tracks Whitman County news called Whitman County Watch. In the video, you'll hear police arrest Trayshawn Broughton for using a fake $20 bill and resisting arrest. Broughton was cleared of those charges by the state court, but it didn't end there. He's filed a federal lawsuit against those officers and the department as a whole. In the lawsuit, Broughton claims before he and officers made their way into Bob's Corner Market on February 18th, 2017, someone inside the store called 911, but then told the dispatcher everything was good and hung up. When the dispatcher called back, the caller reiterated the issue had been resolved. The lawsuit states police responded to Bob's, even though they were told by dispatch things had calmed down. In this police body cam video, released by the department to Whitman County Watch, you hear a clerk tell police Broughton used a fake $20 bill. Police asked to see his ID.
Put your hands behind your back.
I'm showing you my ID.
Pullman Force Explorer, I need
I don't
another.
care, bro. You got
Put your hands behind your back.
No, I'm trying to. You said show me ID.
Put your hands behind. I don't care about your ID right now.
Before he shows Officer Shane Emerson his ID, Broughton is taken to the ground.
Under arrest. Get down. Get down. For what?
And tased by Officer Alex Gordon.
Right. Surely that wasn't necessary.
For what? Because.
That's terrible.
Police say Broughton was arrested for resisting arrest and using a fake $20 bill. He was cleared of those charges by the state court and is now suing the department and seeking damages for injury, emotional distress, loss of freedom, and damage to his reputation in a federal lawsuit. The lawsuit files 9 counts against the officers and the department, including false arrest, excessive use of force, and assault and battery.
That is that not maddening?
That is insane. I've never seen anything like it.
Me either.
He was tasing him on the back. He's already on the floor. Why do you need to stick the taser in his back like that?
He
oh
wasn't.
my
I mean,
God.
resisting. They asked for his
He
ID.
wasn't.
Yeah, crazy.
If you look at him, he looks like he's putting his hand in his pocket because he's gonna reach for it.
And they're saying, "Put your hands behind your back."
They weren't scared. They weren't scared. That was force. That was
terrible.
not necessary.
Like that makes my stomach sick when I see shit like that. Like,
I know. If that was my son, I would be I'd be devastated to watch that.
I've got another one for you that I found. I know you love my videos. All right.
You have like a big Mary Poppins bag.
Well, I really do, because I think that it all matters. I think that, learning the most we can about this area, what goes on in this area, and what it's all about is going to help us better understand what goes on there.
Absolutely.
I agree.
So this is police arrested George Melvin Harris for a shooting near WSU's College Hill area. And this is how long ago? 2021, September 25th of 2021. The victims, Liban A. Bear and Brandon C. Gray, were transported to Pullman Regional following the shooting. Gray, a WSU football player, is in serious but stable, and Bear died at the hospital. Police were called to the 1200 block of Northeast Myrtle Street at 12:30 p.m. They were told there was a loud party with possibly 200 people. As the officers arrived, they heard multiple gunshots. They found 2 victims near Williams Drive and Lindbecker Road. Officers say both men had multiple gunshot wounds. So it wasn't like it was a frickin' accident, stray bullet type thing. Watch this. We've got video and interviews with the students there. Check this out. Oh, hang on. That's the Pullman police in all their glory here. And that would be under Jenkins still, right? This guy here is now the chief, but he was just promoted to chief. I hate how I know their fucking history, but I do. He was just promoted to chief in August. Because the previous chief, Jenkins, and this is gonna if your blood doesn't boil already at these things, Jenkins was one of the 3 authority, administrative positions that didn't report the sex problem with the other guy back in February of 2022, right? So Jenkins was given the option to retire. So instead of facing disciplinary action, he retired. And guess what? Since when he was in retirement, he was pulled out of retirement by his friend, the VP of Finance at the University of Idaho, or rather the Washington State University, Pullman. The VP of Finance pulled him, in his own words, out of retirement and asked him to come back to work as the chief of police for the WSU Police Department.
My God. You couldn't make it up.
Right. He was going to get disciplined at Pullman, retired,
shocking.
Then went and left and went to WSU and became the chief of police there. So
That's shocking.
Weird. It's absolutely mind blowing. It really is, because I'm not digging for this stuff. Like, I'm literally watching their own shit. I'm looking at their own shit and watching videos of past media experience with them. And
yeah,
it's crazy. All right, so let's watch this. The rest of this, it's about, I don't know, 3-4 minutes long. We're going to get a presser from the guy who's now the acting chief of police there in Pullman.
Who's the guy in charge of this now in Pullman?
This dude.
I know.
Olgenhorf.
Told me it's on the release.
Well, I don't know. Olgenhorf. Him. He's the okay. Listen, he's the one. Isn't he the one that gave the awkward? He's the
yes.
He's the chief of police at WSU or Pullman now, and he gave the awkward rendition of the SWAT.
That's right.
He was like, "I am a robot. I am Officer Obgenorth. I will eat your brain."
Yeah.
He was standing like in that vestibule or right outside it. Is that what you're talking about? When you're talking about the guy that because we found that presser and we were like,
and the
this
reporters
is kind
were
of
like
ridiculous.
this. There was not one real reporter there. It's like, what?
No. Yeah.
Okay, so here,
Yeah.
I think
that's what tipped me off to this not being all. Just so you know, when there was a student or someone, almost a student, or I'm not sure what his relation, but he was living in student housing and he was shot in a SWAT, and we hear nada.
Yeah,
like
that press conference was weird. I mean, I just remember we were kind of laughing because we were like, oh, maybe this is like for Brian's benefit, like maybe he's getting spooked by this.
That's what we thought.
And now we find out
and
it's real.
I flashed and said, wow, pretty far out.
But maybe
it was pretty far out.
Maybe it's all connected.
Maybe. Okay.
God knows.
All right, let's watch Opgenorth. Opgenorth.
The last name is spelled O-P-G-E-N-O-R-T-H.
Oh, wait. I want him to pronounce
He's
it
going
for
to
me.
spell it for us.
He did, but he pronounced it. Here we go.
Commander Jake Opgenorth. The last name is spelled Opgenorth.
I guess I won't ask you to recite the release, but could you kind of just give me the rundown of what you guys have to deal with?
Sure. So at about 12:30 in the morning, officers were responding to a party and a noise complaint. And as officers were arriving in the scene, they heard gunshots, and they found 2 victims with gunshots in the area of Liebecker and Williams Drive. They treated the victims of the gunshots, and medics arrived, transported them to the hospital. Unfortunately, one victim did not survive. The other one has been life-flighted to Spokane.
As this was going on, there was so much stuff. There was a lot of stuff I was looking at on Twitter before I even came down here.
Mm-hmm.
He's like,
Was it for at least a couple hours?
Twitter.
Because there was so much information out there, and based on now what you guys have in the release, I read a lot of stuff that's not even close to what happened. How much did that cause you any extra strain or grief that you were dealing with so much information potentially?
You know, I think our officers at the scene did a great job. They were able to focus on the
yada 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 la la la.
We brought more staff in to handle a lot of the phone calls. We're still looking for any additional help we can get with anybody that has knowledge of what happened tonight. If
let me
can
finish.
Talk to any witnesses or anybody with information that can help.
Okay, I have had enough of Ogden North. I thought they interviewed students in this one. Maybe not.
Investigation. We're trying to get, our
Do you know what the thing is?
going too, and
Like, what is he smiling about? Like, he has nothing to smile about.
Right.
A student was just killed,
this
man.
Guy, to me, he always looks like he wants to laugh. Like he's trying to stop himself.
I think he's
laughing.
nervous and out of his. I think he's out of his league. To be honest with you, I mean.
But, yeah, but then get another spokesperson. Then, if you can't take it seriously.
Well, for real.
Well, someone trained in PR, because it is serious stuff. I mean, it's not like us who are sitting here talking about it. I mean, I'd be offended if I were.
Yeah, I mean, there's family members that may see this, so at least look like you give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he can't really fake it, right?
Obviously not.
His blink rate is like he gives himself away.
Well,
seriously, in the blink
I think,
rate.
You got to remember too that there's all these like scandals going on in the background at Pullman Police. Like they had all this shit going on, and they're trying to hold it together.
Right.
What?
Right. Oh my God! Sorry, his face.
I know. It's like Chris Watts on the porch.
So the more I look, and I'm trying to find things that will dig them out. I really am. And that's how I am. As soon as I've decided I think something, I try to convince myself the otherwise, and I play devil's advocate.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm digging for things to try to, because I could not have more respect for Ellie who do their job. I mean, I could not have more respect and do it well. And
oh, same. I love law enforcement. Love them. I think it's amazing what they do. I total agreement with you on that.
But all I'm getting here is like, help me, help you. I can find nothing that's helping us go better.
Right.
It's all getting more. I mean, it's cesspool stuff. We're talking serious long-term. I mean, and I listened to I think they call him a reverend. He's in the he's the head of the Christ Church thing, and I looked that up because I thought that was going to be a lark.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord in heaven!
I've seen people mentioning that, and that's just a whole nother can of beans to open. You know what I mean? Like to add.
But he talks about how the town is at pretty much war with themselves. He releases this message that I listened to today, but he released it like, I don't know, maybe it was like the 6th of January. It was early January. And it's all about, hey, we need to get along. And just because we're saying we want this to be, pretty much white Christian nationalism doesn't mean we're going to be mean about it. We just kind of are hoping it will happen on its own. And it's just very, I mean, it is something else. And so there's a lot going on. It might not be connected, but the people who live in this town are dealing with a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And I wanted to talk to you guys and ask you if you guys have ever looked into the like Little Big Night or whatever it's called. The Littles and Bigs. Have you ever looked into that? Because
go ahead. Yeah. No, I put a comment up under I don't think it was a short, but the video you made today about the kid who hazing, who died from hazing.
Oh, Sam
a couple
Martinez.
Years ago.
Yep.
Thank you, Sam.
Yep.
And
this video's on Sam actually.
Before I put the thing public, I turned to my husband and I said, so I'm going to do it. And he said, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to publicly say how I feel about this whole Greek life thing. And I can't take it back once I put it out there. So I have a real problem with this stuff. Like, the only thing I've told my kids their whole lives is, if you go Greek, I will not pay for you. And
yeah, you said that.
The
last
reason
time.
I've said that is because my husband was Greek. And so I want to believe that it's as ridiculous, like that it's the farces that they make about it are really farces, but there's enough stuff going on in there, and there's enough people making money that it's not about the kids, and it's really sad.
Well, it's all about I don't know what it's all about, but this incident with Sam was all about drinking. Okay. So what I wanted to bring up is that if you look at the date of this body cam, and this is from the night that Sam died in 2019, 11/12. I don't know who here watched Dateline on the Idaho 4, but I did. And there was a little tidbit in there that I didn't know. And maybe you guys knew this and maybe I missed it. But they stated that there was a huge 200 plus party 24 hours before these murders in 1122 King Road.
Yes.
And I didn't know that. I had never heard that.
No.
I think I heard it as a rumor only a day or two ago.
Well, and I have to say, because
it's not anything
Dateline
official, but that is who put it on?
Dateline. And that's why I'm saying
Dateline.
I'm going to take it
official.
as it's probably verified. I mean, they aren't tabloid. They typically verify everyone they interview and everything they put out.
They do.
So
they're very credible.
Yeah. I mean, as far as I know, unless they've changed as well and Nexstar has acquired them. But as far as I know, NBC is still its own entity. And they put out a few little tidbits that I didn't know. And that was one of them. That there was a huge party for the football game. And there were over 200 people in that home. And honestly, the first part of Dateline, to me anyways, the tone felt like they were subtly questioning the inconsistencies in the investigation.
So do you feel like they were kind of building a narrative?
In the beginning of it, because I think we all were questioning. I think they did a great. I love Dateline. Not just I'm not partial, but I do love the way they put their shows together. So what they did was they kind of put us how everyone watching felt at that time when we weren't getting when there, it's safe out there. There's no suspect though, but you're safe. All of that unsurety, and they talked to people in Moscow, and they had awesome footage of downtown Moscow. They also verified that Xana and Maddie worked at the Mad Greek part-time. I heard that, but I never knew, if it was a rumor or, something on a fake profile. I mean, who knows anymore? So they did say that. They did say that, and they showed the Mad Greek. They went inside the Mad Greek.
And they showed the pizza. Did they show the pizza? The vegan pizza. Someone was showing the vegan pizza from the Mad Greek.
No, nothing about Kohberger being vegan. I don't think anything like that was in the Dateline.
Not in the Dateline one.
Because I don't think it's verified. And furthermore, I think that, and this is a little off topic from what we were talking about with Sam and everything, but I think that it's possible, if we believe that Brian Kohberger is he was obsessed with the psychology behind murder. I think it's possible that he deliberately had things on the World Wide Web for when his name, if and when it was released and people searched, they would find X, Y, and Z.
That's interesting.
For example, the slasher movie. There's nothing else on the web about the dad, the mom, the sisters. There's no family photos. There's no social media. I mean, there's nothing. It's like it's wiped, right? But everything about her slasher movie, it's just, and then you think about all the other things that people are finding. Oh, he was vegan. Oh, this, oh, that. Was that put out there because he knew people would search his name if he got caught or arrested, and that they might think there's no way that they can connect him skinning, this couple's dog, Buddy, because he's a vegan.
Yeah.
He had a little paws, wipe your paws with little dog paws in front of his door.
Yeah.
I just don't, I don't put it past him to put shit out there that would direct people to a maze of a I don't know, like a psychological mystery, so to speak. When the truth is really right there, but he's put all of these little trap doors, that you can go through, and we're going through every one of them.
It's just enough to make you question him, just enough for that little bit of doubt that the jury needs.
Well, what he's doing, he's creating like a doppelganger that basically fits the crime the way that he sees it, and so I mean,
don't you think it's interesting that his pictures, he looks so different in every one?
Yeah.
Don't you think that it's possible that this dude toyed with pictures and put them out there with a tag of his name?
Absolutely.
So that when
I definitely think he did that kind of stuff because he was in that, even if he wasn't doing it, like just learning how to do what he was doing with the cloud stuff and the forensic stuff, he would have just
all digital
done that.
And I hope the prosecution as well will I hope they're seeing all of that as we are, because that just gives it more credence to it being premeditated, because he went to such lengths to build up that.
That's a good point. That's a good point, because that's a lot of planning, but they have to prove that. So I think that's where all this metadata comes in, and studying metadata takes a long time.
Yeah.
It's like
part of that $1
peeling
million.
an onion.
They hired someone.
Right. I mean, if all of this is digital, and that's another thing too, Mary, is like, think about, is this going to change how much investigations cost with everything being digital now?
I think this could change it. Like, I think this particular case could reset standards for everything, for how law enforcement works with YouTube and TikTok, and how the public, what they expect out of law enforcement as they go along as far as information. Because that's the other thing. I mean,
depending on how this turns out, if it turns out good, that all this was kept sealed and everything, it will set a precedence for the future.
Yeah.
which is probably exactly what the attorney will argue.
Yeah.
For all the media groups, is that you can't do this because, you know.
I just really think that, you know, if you look at his search warrant, the little that is in there, but what they were looking for in particular was worrisome to me. I liked what they were looking for. You know, the tablets, the different devices, you know, a different storage device, like a console for a video game. You know, they're talking about all these crafty ways that people store things, and then they walk out with one computer tower.
I think that might be the Fire Stick, just so you know.
Oh, does that store things? Can you?
So yes, you can access the internet. I also think that it is possible at this point that ping they put in there for when they said, I mean, from the get-go, when they said his phone went off this tower at this time, but he wasn't there. I thought maybe he had an iPad with Wi-Fi. You know how some iPads have Wi-Fi or whatever. But then I started thinking about it, and no, that's not a ping. That's Wi-Fi. That would be different.
Yeah.
But then, I just thought maybe it's the. Oh, I forgot. You guys.
What? Are you okay?
I totally forgot. No, yes, I'm okay.
You forgot what you were going to say?
This is long COVID, my friends. I forgot the last word. I know I said the whole thing, but I forgot the last word. It's ridiculous.
Do you know what? It's menopause. I swear.
Oh God, I hope it's not.
Foggy brain.
It is foggy brain.
Yeah.
It was there and it was out. It was about the ping. What was I saying?
You were saying
Fire stick.
Yeah, the fire stick.
The fire stick. I think they're going to say the fire stick pinged off this tower. And I think that that's why they put that little piece in there, potentially, at this point.
Definitely.
But how could a fire stick ping?
Because it will hook it.
It would have to have data.
Yeah, but he could have gone to like a coffee shop and used his, well, let's see, how could he have done it? If he went to a coffee shop and used the fire stick in his computer, would that have?
Well,
I don't know enough.
Well,
but if it is an iPad, you can have like a data plan through your cell service.
Yeah.
So you could have like a tablet with data capabilities that wouldn't be Wi-Fi. But it's, Potato's right. It was a ping from that cell number.
Yeah.
Right. And the cell number would be connected potentially to, that's why I thought, oh, maybe it's an iWatch, because some of the iWatches now are.
Well, it's in. Well, I have. So I have my Apple phone, my Apple iPad that I'm on right now. Then I have my Apple Mac, and all three of those are synced. So if my phone rings, my iPad will ring. So will my my Mac. Yeah.
But we don't know if he had iPhone.
We don't.
He could have had a Droid.
One-way ticket to hell.
And it wouldn't surprise me if he did, because most techies prefer Droids.
Yeah. But then again, you know, he kind of showed, like, that was a slip up there for him, wasn't it? Because he turned his phone off, and like, everyone keeps saying about how clever Brian is, but really, he's not. He's not. Because he made so many mistakes that night.
I think he's very clever. Do I think he's clever enough to get away with murder? Maybe not in the physical evidence aspect, but maybe in putting reasonable doubt.
Yeah, no, I know what
based
you're
on
saying.
things that are out there.
Yeah,
you know,
because I
that's
think
all it takes.
Yeah, I think he has been clever. Like I said, I think, like you said, he was definitely the premeditation for me is all there, and that's going to be, I hope, crucial in making sure that he can't take any type of insanity plea. Because
that's fine, but having premeditation in a murder that you can't prove happened is a moot point. So, like, you have to be able to have a tightly sealed murder case
You do.
in order to even think about premeditation, right?
Right. So I think the leading up to it, yeah, there's like obviously he was clever with the leading up to it, but when it actually came to acting it out, then it became very sloppy.
You're right. We're right, because
Correct.
if he's never done this before, he didn't know. He can prepare all he wants, but he doesn't know
Right.
how he's going to feel when he does it.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what else
Between
is going to happen when he does it. So
No.
you have to be in the moment. Like, nothing's going to go by the book.
That's right. And we know he was really methodical in the way that he did things, how he wrote things out. And so he must have felt so confident, but then he became obviously totally overwhelmed with that situation. He lost control.
And I think that's why he hot-footed it out of town.
Yeah.
I really do.
Because it didn't go, obviously, how in his mind it should have gone and what he'd so carefully planned for,
Because he looks really nervous when he's pulled over. And that was one thing they did say on Dateline was that was organic. They said that was not planned. Now, I don't know if
one of them,
there's no, they said both. The NBC correspondent verified, because they were talking about how there was speculation that the FBI, because I think Fox put it out first and then it was taken back. So, but there's things the FBI is not going to admit, and we know that. I mean, shit.
It doesn't have to be the FBI. Like when they said that, whenever someone says, well, the FBI did not say, I say, okay, what about the state agencies? Did they just talk to their police and say, hey, when you see this car coming through? I mean, especially when we are talking about if there's any connection with this Brent person and he had the same car, just at different years. Like I have all these thoughts going through my head if that is true. And I just think that there is a connection with the police department. And I think that's why they're so much like they've told all the students to everyone, like, you can't say anything about anything.
Yeah.
Anyone who works with him or who had him as a TA
and that's what's interesting is that on Dateline, they interviewed a student who had him, the one that talked about his grading. And seeing these people on Dateline versus Zoom in a TikTok video or on Twitter is so much more profound and so much more believable than just these randos, that you see on a Zoom call. It looks so cheap to me. I'm not used to mainstream media using Zoom as a form of an interview.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? I'm just still getting used to that because that's what I've used. I'm an amateur.
Yeah.
So when I see that, I tend to think, God, is that real? Is that really his student? How do we know? But this person was on Dateline and they went into more detail about Koberger as a TA. And he said he never stuck around after class. He was always the first one out of the room. None of the students approached him or ever wanted to approach him because he wasn't approachable. They said that he was very closed off and just no one ever went up to him because he just was not an approachable guy. And he was a very tough grader in the fact, not that he graded them just tough, but they showed some of his remarks on the side of this guy's, he like pulled up his student portal for a second. It was like a flash.
Oh my goodness.
And it was, and it showed a little box of Brian Koberger's notes. And he literally was critiquing this kid and saying, I would have done da 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 da. Like, and the kid was like, okay, this isn't fair. He goes, everyone, didn't like him because he's telling us what he would have done as a PhD student. And
again,
we're not learning from him.
Yeah.
But that goes back to his, big ego of having to be right and having to be the best and know everything. And
the grandiosity of it all that he shows, because he is so far above them with his PhD and, but then he did go on to say, didn't he, that at the end, they suddenly noticed the change in him, and he was giving them all A's.
Yes. So after he said it, and then that suddenly changed.
Yeah.
Right after
It
the
just
murders,
suddenly changed.
he goes, everyone got 100s.
Yeah.
And he goes, no one questioned it because why are you going to question it? He went from being a total, jerk to giving everybody these great grades. So,
And I can't help but wonder about that. What changed for him that he went from being
his
that
focus,
to-
because he had to now hide, right? He had to pay attention to every little thing that was being put out. He didn't have time
And what
to
he
grade
was doing.
papers. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. If this was a master plan, if it really was a master plan, I mean, if I'm going to write the novel, I'm saying he went home and his thought was, I'm coming back and I'm going to be an intern in the winter after winter break, and I'm going to solve this case, and he's got someone he's going to pin it on, and he's been creating this whole thing.
Yep.
And if I go even farther into my, fantasy of how this could have happened, I see a kid who has closed off and is using a lot of technology to fulfill needs, and he has had an addiction in the past. Now he's older. However, we've had all COVID going on, so his master's program was actually like online. I don't know that he ever met anyone, and that's a whole different thing. So in my craziest theory, he planned this during COVID or whatnot. And he, maybe it was a project that he started for his master's, and then he just kept doing it. And then he moved there, and this is his first time away from home. I don't know that. But if this is his first true time away from home, what I see in this guy is someone who is doing his utmost to pretend to be a human being, which is why he would leave first, which is why nobody would want to talk to him. He's doing everything he can from the moment he leaves Pennsylvania and comes across country for this plan he has to act like a normal human. And it is going to take everything he has to fool everyone. And I think that probably by the end of the 3 months, he was just totally burnt out. He'd been doing it for so long.
I mean, yeah, I definitely agree with that, Mary. But I still kind of wonder, why he could have just as easily give them all B's. He didn't really have to kind of overthink that, did he? But
no, but he's a narcissist, so he had to.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I understand that. So, Mary, do you think that part of his plan was to not only commit murder, but that he would pin this on somebody else? And if so, do you think we know who that could have been?
I think that 2 weeks ago, I would have laughed at you. I think last week I would have told you we're reaching for straws. I think this week, with the information I now know, and after watching the body camera that they did give, and the things they have not given, and the things that they are holding on, and then reading over all the stuff, I think there is more here.
Me too.
And so I'm not sure, but I don't think it's that he's been this long time serial killer. Maybe he has, but he just seems so deflated. The last time he was in court,
I have a question
he was a
about
different
the
person.
search in PA. Or sorry, them arresting him. Have you guys heard anything about them searching his parents' house and the woods and everything around there for any potential evidence?
Yeah.
Well,
what did you
heard
hear?
Any official stuff?
Right.
No official that I know of, except for the door was broken,
but we know they were
they took 'em out.
circling. We did hear that officially, that the plane was circling. That was picked up on flight radar. But as far as inside the home, I mean, we have photos of Brian's dad posing with a shop vac in his driveway in a gated community taken by Daily Mail. So either Daily Mail paid someone in that neighborhood to get it in there, or something. I mean, how else are they getting in there? I mean, you can't get in there. It's gated. There's security, right?
It had to have been a neighbor.
Mm-hmm. But did they search the inside of the house for any potential evidence since Brian was staying there for a couple weeks?
Well, didn't they
Absolutely. I'm
yeah.
sure they did.
Yeah.
Do we know about it? No. Is that interesting? Yes.
Wait, we have a super
Could
chat.
that answer?
We have Ho Dog says, check if white coat grub truck girl knows Brian. Why would you say that, Ho Dog?
White truck.
And thank
I'm
you for
writing
your
that
super
down.
chat.
White.
Thank you for your super
wearing a
chat,
white
Ho Dog.
So
The
Mary
girl
said-
with big guy in a little coat and the guy with the beard is who he's talking about, or she.
Ah.
Yeah, the one that was making fun of the girls, like pulling her shirt up, making fun of Maddie's top and all of
So
that.
Mary, I think that we are what we were then now looking at. We was looking at part 1 of his plan. Do you see
You
what
mean
I
that he planned on going, well, that he
Yeah.
planned on more happening? Mhm.
Well, yeah, because I think the goal in his like narcissistic and, you know, in that grandiosity that he has, that he was going to commit this murder, but somebody else was going to be the fall guy, and that was part of the planning. So really, that night was part 1, and then he was going to continue on to pin that on someone else.
I think that you very well could be right. And I think that in his head, if we're, thinking about what might be in his thought bubble, he
Brian's.
is thinking,
I don't want to be in Brian's thought bubble, Mary.
No.
You can be
No,
there by
well,
yourself. Let me know what it's like in there.
At least if I say that, everyone will know I don't really know exactly. They won't say, well,
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time.
He'd pop it with his nose anyway.
It is a scary thought, though, if you think about it.
But
it could be a comic book.
I just feel like that there was more to come. There was more to it, and I feel like
I think he has a patsy.
Me
Yeah,
too.
like he was going to come back and solve the crime in his first semester as an intern, and then he would be the hero, and he would be, and I did hear that when he was a security guard, there was an incident where he saved a fellow security guard who had an asthma attack or something, and he got a lot of praise for it. And so I actually think when the history is written, we're going to find that that's kind of the moment where he was set into motion of, I want to be, so I want to know I committed the crime. I want to pin it on someone else. And then I want to teach everyone all about how I did it and play devil's advocate and play both sides of the argument. And that will be my life. And I'll get to live my fantasy of this.
I sit alone in my four-cornered room staring at candles.
So therefore, I don't think it was a mistake when he said, have you arrested anyone else? Because if we go, if we believe that all of this was really premeditated, then that part of the plan, although it hadn't been put into action, most probably digitally, is somewhere. So he, being very clever, would have already had that patsy in mind, and there would have been some work that was ongoing with that ready.
Absolutely. And there's just too much going on. And I think Jay's on this wavelength too. I don't know for sure, but there's just too much interplay with when Brian left and this vet who had this incident.
Yeah.
Jay, how do you feel about that theory?
The SWAT being involved with Brian at all, you mean?
Well, like with the patsy and him kind of having this grand plan.
Yeah. I mean, let's take this into consideration. Okay, so what's really wild to me is how they found the Elantra. And I went back because I wanted to read the story put out, officially. And they gave credit to 2 WSU officers, of course. And it's on Dateline. And I mean, I'm not going to, read too much into it because it is being narrated. I love Keith Morrison, but there is a tone with this, right? So I forgot what I was just talking about.
You're talking about how you got to the Elantras, which is I think there's a big gap there. That's what you're talking about.
How I got to it?
How they got to the Elantras.
Oh my God, I lost my complete train of thought.
And
so we were
good,
just
it's not just
talking
me.
about Brian having a patsy and that, this big kind of grand master plan. And then you was saying about the car.
I totally lost it.
See, this is what honestly
We're rubbing off on each other, ladies.
this is menopause.
Oh my Lord.
For anyone watching, it's awful. You get hairy tits and everything.
Oh my God. Hairy tits? She said hairy. Did you say hairy tits?
Yes.
I've not had that pleasure yet. I'm
That
afraid.
is the funniest shit I've ever heard. Haley.
You know what?
Now you're hairy tits.
Oh my God! Did I just say that?
I'm just kidding.
You were talking about.
Sorry.
Leave it to HJ. She's gonna save my ass here.
Bring us back, HJ.
Yes.
You were talking about that they named 2 officers and that Dateline had a narrative.
Thank you. The 2 officers that found the Elantra. Okay. Yes. Okay. So the 2 officers. So this is how they said it went down, according to Keith Morrison at Dateline NBC. Okay. He says that as soon as now, this was another little tidbit. The BOLO for the 2011 to 2013 Elantra went out 2 weeks before we found out there was an Elantra. That came out in Dateline. So they had a BOLO that went out 2 weeks before. And these WSU officers, because they are so efficient, they took it upon themselves to do some investigating of their own.
Yep.
And one was in the station and one was on the road. And the one in the station looked up every Elantra registered to, I guess, I don't know if it's WSU students or in the county. I don't know what they have the capabilities of searching, but he was able to find that there was an Elantra registered to a Brian Koberger, who was an employee of WSU as a TA, right? And isn't it funny that even if he was a WSA officer, he'd still be an employee? So they can say employee without anything, right? So they pulled that from the registrations, I guess, to the university. And that was when the other officer, I can't recall his name, drove through the parking lot and said, "Holy smokes, by God, I've got it." And the 2 WSU officers saved the day. So that was the story. On the screen is one of those gloves that we were talking about yesterday. That's what it is.
They're made specifically for people who are allergic to latex. That's where they came from. And medically, 20 years ago, you had to specially order them. Now, it's pretty much what they use if you're in the hospital. They're a little thicker than those throwaway gloves.
Right,
Just a little
right.
thicker.
Thank you for explaining that. Jenny says it's omission of guilt. If you have to ask, you would ask, what am I being arrested for? Or why would you just say, did you pick up anybody else? I think that's another game. I think this guy's full of games.
I mean, yeah,
it's like he wanted to make this a maze, and he did. It's like watching or reading one of those books. Turn to page 123 for this ending.
Choose your own adventure.
Choose your own adventure. Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite books ever.
And this isn't really an adventure you want to choose, but he's made it all these different avenues. I can't even say how many times I've heard mainstream media saying there's so many avenues of this case, and dun, dun. And I think that's part of his plan. I don't know if it was all of it. But another thing I wanted to mention before it slips my mind, like everything else, and while I'm unmuted, the sheath. I was looking, and this is just my ways. I was watching videos on people using that K-bar knife with that same sheath and how they would remove it from their belt or, with their hands. Now, if there's DNA from Brian using that knife and that knife sheath that night, that sheath on the whole bottom part of it, he probably would have had to wrap his hand around to hold on to it, to unsnap the sheath and pull the knife out. Like that knife fits very securely inside that leather sheath. So the blade and everything is really wrapped around this tightly woven leather.
Yeah.
Okay, that doesn't have a lot of give. They're pretty sturdy unless it's old, and really worn out. So if he didn't have it on his belt and it ended up on the bed, did he grab it with one hand, pull, flick that thing? But how would the DNA get on the snap and not on the rest? Or do you think that they have more DNA from that sheath?
Well, it's interesting because they've only ever specified the button. I mean, and they've kind of gone over and over that as well, haven't they?
But they don't have to show us everything they have, too.
No, they don't. They don't. But they've kind of implied that it was only found there. So, yeah, I mean, you can take it.
Now, what's interesting is that they said that the DNA could remain on that button of the sheath for up to a year unless somebody else touched it. So, like someone just said in chat, could he have touched that button earlier and then, wore gloves during the crime?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that potentially might be all part of his plot to pin it on someone else. That, just enough DNA, because he should know these things. And he was a really good student, apparently. So in theory, not in practice, but in theory, he would know many of these things. That's why I think that he probably, the Dickies thing, I think they told us that because he probably had some kind of coveralls and he took them off inside out, just like he would have practiced over and over again. It would have been like his first test in criminology 101. How do you take the gloves off? How do you take the stuff off? And if you've ever done that, you've ever worked in a neat medical setting or whatnot, that just becomes normal muscle memory. And so I think that he'd be uncomfortable if he didn't go through the steps that he was taught to do.
Interesting. Bitch Franklin has an interesting comment that could take us down a hole or two. The sheath won't make it into trial because it was found, quote unquote, later. Now, I don't know about that, but let's say that the sheath and the DNA is thrown out. From what we know, would you be worried?
Yeah.
No.
Oh my gosh.
I
And
said
you guys
no.
were both. Okay, Mary, tell me why you say no. And then I want to know why you say yes.
So I would have been worried. However, when they released the warrant and they unredacted it, they specified very clearly, please don't use DNA, judge, to make your decision. And I mean, they went so far, they started it's at the very end of the thing and it's in all legalese. But what they're asking the judge when they hand it to him at midnight or whatever to sign it is, please consider these things. We do have this DNA. I don't want you to consider that unless you have to. If you don't have to, please don't. And I want that noted, because if you don't have to, I want it noted that we didn't need to use the DNA for the warrant itself. And so because of
You
that,
know what? And you have a
because
good
of how
point.
messy-
You got to remember, too, they charged him with first-degree murder before even having his DNA, before even swabbing him and having him back in Idaho.
Right.
So that kind of says a lot as well.
I think so.
There's a lot to unpack with this. I really enjoy your guys' dialogue and discussion, though. I want to play a little bit of this because I want to go back to Littles and Bigs. And the fact that there was this 200 plus party just 24 hours before the murders, which Dateline brought up, that's a lot of DNA. 24 hours.
And
before.
The littles and bigs is the party that they had? Is that
no,
why
the
you keep
Littles and
bringing up?
Bigs is a Greek event. And that is where they host, the older upper freshmen, whatever you call them, host.
They have generations,
the new ones,
they have
right?
pictures.
So
Yep,
they're
it's a whole thing. Yep.
They're assigned a little. Okay. When they get to a certain point, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but they're assigned a little, and then they have this little and big night where they host their little. And Sam Martinez was a little on November 12th of 2019 because that's the little and big weekend. That's when they do it.
Oh.
Every year.
Yep.
Right.
That's the beginning of, that's like when you're accepted into the family. That's a big deal.
It's a big deal. So
It
what you're
really
going to
is a
see
big deal.
here is
Oh.
you're going to see some body cam footage after Sam Martinez was found face down on a couch in this fraternity house the next morning, dead from alcohol poisoning. And this is the officers responding, and this is the frat boy lying, because Sam Martinez's friend comes out later and says, no, what this event is about was every little was to drink a fifth of liquor. And then this kid's saying, oh, no, but listen for yourselves. I just want you, I don't know much about these frat parties and shit. So watching these videos is really enlightening to me.
It is for me as well, because it's not something that I
No,
used.
this culture, I have no idea what the Greek culture is about or why people even do this. I watch this
And now,
and I don't know why parents let kids or want them, per se, to do this. So I don't get it. I really don't, because I could give a damn who was in a fraternity or a sorority when I meet them as an adult. As a matter of fact, if I hear that you were, I might prejudge you a little bit, and I shouldn't, but I might, because they have the stigma, right? We see it in all the movies. So I don't know. This is enlightening to me to see these things that transpire at these parties.
A first-hand look at the investigation into the death of Sam Martinez nearly 2 years ago in Pullman. The WSU freshman was just 19 years old when he died after an event at the Alpha Tau Omega fraternity at Washington State University. Good evening, and thank you for joining us here at 6 o'clock. I'm Whitney Ward.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Mark Hanrahan. 15 men who were members of that fraternity at the time are now facing misdemeanor charges of furnishing liquor to a minor. Police spoke with dozens of friends and witnesses the morning that Sam was found dead and in the following weeks as well. KREM 2 investigative reporter Ian Spade live in the newsroom tonight with more on what happened that night and if the events of that night could be considered hazing. Ian?
Yeah, good evening, Mark and Whitney. A big subject of conversation surrounding Sam Martinez's death has been the Pullman Police Department saying they believed hazing laws were violated, but the statute of limitations expired by the time that recommendation was made.
Can you believe this shit? So they admitted it was hazing, and then their investigation went past the statute of limitations, and they were like, "Oh, sorry about it."
Yes,
people
I can
police
believe
talked
it.
to that morning was the morning Martinez was found dead was then fraternity president Luke Hawksford. Hawksford said he briefly saw Martinez the night he died at the fraternity's Big Little Reveal event. He confirms with police that the last time he saw Martinez was when he was being carried down the stairs to be laid down on a couch because he was heavily intoxicated.
Or when you saw Wes, and I don't know Wes's last name. Oswald. Okay, so Wes and a couple of freshmen, like 5 freshmen, were headed down the stairs to take Sam down to the chapter room.
Yes, I assume they were going to the chapter room because that's kind of where people take people when they've had too much to drink.
County coroner would go on to determine that Martinez died of alcohol poisoning, and his blood alcohol level was measured at .372 at the time of his death. Police had been told by some of the people they interviewed that it was believed that older fraternity members had hazed Martinez and his freshman peers that night. That alleged hazing included the older members pushing the younger members to get as drunk as they could. But another fraternity member who was receiving his little brother that night, Finn Anderson, told police during a phone call that it was a choice for the younger members.
Like if they want to do it, like it's Big Little Night, you're like yes, like they we have alcohol, it's gonna be fun, we're gonna hang out and drink all night and stuff like that.
Okay.
So that's kind of the idea of it, I guess.
Anderson is also facing a charge of furnishing liquor to a minor. Now, these accusations of hazing at ATO, both that night and in general, are part of what led the Pullman Police Department to say they believe hazing occurred, even though the clock had run out on bringing hazing charges against any suspects. But Hoxford says they had tried to crack down on hazing due to previous problems for the fraternity.
Yeah, I mean, we've been really trying to ever since I've been president, we've been trying to crack down on hazing because my freshman year we went through a membership review, which you might know about, and I don't know all the reasons for it, but part of that was hazing. I mean, I got hazed, so we know like what happens when you do that. So
Hoxford and Anderson are two of the 15 people charged with at least one count of furnishing liquor to a minor.
15 people, but all they got was furnishing liquor to a minor.
Now, this isn't the only thing we are learning about from the police records and body camera videos. Whitney, you also found out more about the university's view on if hazing happened and the reluctance of some witnesses to tell police about possible hazing at the fraternity.
Ian, thank you very much. Yeah, also in the days immediately after Sam died, WSU suspended the fraternity from campus. They also issued a letter, so take a look at that. They said if the allegations of what happened that night proved to be true, that it would indeed be a violation of hazing rules as well as a number of other university standards of conduct. As police, though, tried to build their case, they consistently came up short, often saying witnesses and friends were not fully cooperative and wouldn't share information that could have helped them pursue more serious felony charges. Take a listen now as police tried to interview a friend of Sam's about a month after his death.
It was Big and Little Reveal night, and all the pledges were hazed to drink a fifth of vodka each, and heard that he was just left alone for a long period.
And you aren't willing to tell me who you heard that from?
I don't know. I really don't know. What would happen if I told you a name? I don't know.
I would go talk to that person.
Yeah, I don't really feel comfortable naming any names. I just wanted to, I don't know, I just followed the news and he said, if you know anything, please call Pullman Police, and that's what I know.
Okay. Well, and I appreciate you calling me, but I'm going to let you know I can't do anything with the information that you provided me.
Okay. That's okay.
So the Alpha Tau Omega chapter at WSU has been suspended until at least 2026. As for the 15 suspects facing misdemeanor charges, they are all expected in court for first appearance.
What'd you think of that?
Wow, that's sad.
Pretty
Shocking.
jarring, huh?
Scary.
And she doesn't want to say anything.
No, she knows if she does, she'll I bet she's in a sorority. That's like tied to that.
Yep. So that speaks volumes to me about, the kind of tips that they may have gotten or may not have gotten,
I mean, someone died, and yet they're willing to go.
They're more worried about putting someone's name out there. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that goes so deep. I mean, that says a lot about, the whole kind of.
I mean, it's one thing to be afraid. I'd be afraid as well. But I mean, my fear and my sense of being a good human would, I think, overpower my fear.
Well, absolutely.
I'm floored at the. I mean, I've never seen anything like that. I haven't.
So knowing the little I know, what I can tell you is that when he says we carried him downstairs to the chapter room, because that's where you take people. The chapter room is a very important place in each house. It's where they do all their meetings. It's very important. You don't just go hang out in the chapter room. So, I mean, I gasped when he said that because to me, that meant they knew it was big time serious. To me, that there, we brought him to the chapter
Well,
room,
they had
not
to
to his
carry
bedroom.
him. Yeah, they had to carry
Right.
him
Well, but
downstairs.
they put him in, right. But that's where they put him, in the chapter room.
Mhm.
It's a thing with the house. I mean, it's the place in the house that's kind of, for lack of a better word, sacred, I guess.
But
And so
it comes to something when someone dies and they're so willing, there's to not jeopardize, a group. I mean, surely there needs to be some regulating or something, because I mean that's tragic. What a lovely
Yep.
kid,
It happens all the time. If you start digging, you will be
Awful.
horrified. You will be horrified. And they do have a system. I mean, they mentioned, I don't know if they mentioned that they were kicked off campus or they lost their charter. I mean, there's a whole national level, and
It was
then there's a
suspended,
regional
until
level, and
2026. So that was pretty
I mean,
big.
yep, and they can't have like, for example, Ethan's fraternity, I do believe, had to be dry until 2021, maybe sometime. Like, they just earned the privilege of not being
Oh,
dry back.
I'm sure they follow those rules.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not being funny, but all these parents that have saved for years to send their children to possibly one of the dangerous places, I mean, it makes no sense.
I'm sure this has been
This
an
is why-
ongoing problem. I mean, this isn't, I don't think this is anything new. I just think it's never really made like mainstream.
Yeah, it's not being questioned. I mean,
Yeah,
and now-
no. I mean, we all
Yeah.
heard about Ted Bundy's victims being sorority sisters, and there was frat boys and all that, but no one studied the frat life because the frat life didn't come into play with Bundy.
in England we don't have that. I mean, when
You
you go
don't?
to uni, no, you don't.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't know why. I guess it's just like taking the clique out of high school and shoving it in a college, in my opinion. And
Yeah.
I was not cliquish in school. I was friends with everybody. As long as you weren't an asshole, I liked you. And that's the way I am in my life. And I've just never needed to be a part of a group like that. I just,
No.
Yep.
I just,
man.
that's
I feel the
not
same
me.
way.
Yeah, it's just like,
yeah. They said you have to put your hair in pigtails for a week, and I was like, "Yep, not doing it. Sorry."
yeah,
I
that's
mean,
not
we do
not
have
my
the
thing.
universities. They do have parties and stuff, but they don't. But it's like everyone, it's boys, girls, everyone. But not to that kind of degree. I mean, I think this case, if nothing else, will hopefully highlight that maybe parents need to be more aware of what's going on. The universities need to bear more
You know what?
responsibility.
Someone just said in chat, parents want their kids to have the college experience. When my daughter went away to college, you know what experience I wanted her to have? Get your fucking degree experience. That's what I
Right.
wanted her to have. My daughter is not a drinker or a partier or anything like that. Thank God. She didn't want that. But
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I don't think that my kid would, because I wouldn't. I don't think that you just.
It's a
Yeah.
group. It really is, like, at its heart, and
It's like
I'm not
generational
saying it's
too, right?
bad in itself. Right, exactly. Yes, exactly. Legacies and generations, and
Like
and
your
even with the littles,
great-grandfather-
and they have
Your great
they call
grandfather
themselves
was the
GG's grand.
was the president of Psi Sigma Kappa, and you will do the same, son. I will not have a lawyer in our family that is not a member of Psi Sigma Kappa. I mean, that's how I picture. Maybe I have the wrong impression, but I'm going off movies. We see these rich folks, the guys go in the frats, they're all dicks, and then the sorority girls are all bitches. And it's just like this whole stigma. So I never really knew what it was about. And it's really interesting to see like the underbelly of the Greek life.
And I agree that we have traditions in life and in countries of certain things that happen. But, it wasn't that many years ago that, I don't know, same-sex couples are not allowed to be married. And yet we've evolved and we're fine. So what I'm trying to say is it's okay. We can evolve. So just because we've done it for the last 100 years, doesn't mean to say it's okay. You know, we can adapt. Because I know, sure as hell, there's no way I'd want to be saving all my life to send my child to go and get drunk and barely make class and barely make her grades and put herself in danger.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if I was sending my kid to a university, I would look at the police blotter. I mean, that would be like stop number one for me. And I
But
mean,
that's
my
a whole
daughter,
other thing.
my daughter went to school in downtown Detroit at University of Detroit Mercy, and that's a bad area. It is literally in the hood of Detroit, but you have to be smart. And I've taught them that. Like, my kids all are comfortable going to Detroit. We love the city of Detroit. I love it. It's my heart. It's where I was born. It's in me, you know, and there's just something special about the city of Detroit. And I never wanted my kids to be scared. You know, so many small town people where I was from are, oh, you go to Detroit, oh, I'm scared. Or, you know, I don't want to go there and I'm scared. Like, there's nothing to be scared of if you're smart, you know? But at any rate, I don't even know what the hell I got on a rant about. But I don't know.
Well, I think that what Haley was talking about evolving, and I think that is something that maybe will start to catch on because we know so much more about brain development now. We just do. And I can tell you an 18-year-old is only halfway through their brain, their maturity.
Yeah.
And you're put in these kids, the ones that are running the show are 21. And we know your brain isn't finished developing until you're 25. And I have a suspicion they're going to move that soon to 30. And I just think, given what we know, that and how it affects people, we should make some changes in society to accommodate this, because otherwise we're just going to just keep hitting that wall because we're putting people in a situation they are not able to handle because their brains are not developed enough. You can't expect a 21, 22-year-old
I just
to
think
take
that
care of
this
an
whole
18-year-old.
life is, this whole culture is just accident upon accident upon accident waiting to happen. And I don't see any good reason. Like, if you want to take all the drinking, the hazing, the bullying, the cost, the amount of patrolling, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, they're nothing but a pain in the ass from what I'm seeing. What do? I mean, they act like Littles and Bigs is like some pure event. Like, they're going out and picking up trash on the side of a freeway. What do these people do? Oh, it's when we get together and we drink all night. Like, really? Why are we that dumb as a society? I mean, forgive me if I'm ignorant on this topic, which I am, but I don't see what else they do. What else do they do?
And I'm all in favor of them. You know, they can still have certain traditions and have that kind of group, but there has to be a point where you just say, you just can't go that far. I just can't be allowed. It's just,
why don't we teach our children to be individuals? Right?
Well, yes. I mean, that's
Isn't
that's
it
the first
close
thing.
enough quarters living in the damn dorms? I mean, why do we have to have these frat houses that you have to be a certain whatever to get into? I don't even know what their guidelines are. I'm not sure I want to know.
Social,
and that's
there's
the
a
other
social
side of
aspect
it.
to it.
The other side of it that really hurts me as well is the bullying side. You know, what happens to how many times do we see, in people in therapy because they weren't good enough?
Like I said, it's the high school cliques in college form. Add
weren't-
alcohol, dude. It's a
Right.
nightmare. It's a nightmare waiting to happen. And then what do you do?
And it begins.
You put
it begins
little
by breaking them down.
Well, no,
That's
and then
how it begins.
And they're
So
but
they
they're
do the
going
pledge
into
events,
this.
They want to break them.
But they're going into this with they're not going into this whole. Every fraternity and sorority, right? Aren't they like rivals? Don't they do little stupid things where they compete against each other?
Yeah.
Isn't there kind of that meathead mentality? Like, my sorority's better than yours and my fraternity's better than yours. Is there that type of mentality? That's my question.
There there definitely is a, you know, a prank kind of war thing, or each place will have their one
Right.
their nemesis.
So we're
And then
promoting
they are each
essentially
they're each
groups.
paired with a
Right. So
yes, each fraternity is paired with a sorority, and then they mix, and they have to put their calendars up, and they have
Oh, how
if
cute.
if they go to the sorority, they're called tees.
When do they study?
Tees.
When do they study?
I don't know.
Are they hairy tees?
Exactly.
Hairy do they get hairy tees?
Yeah. Oh, they're hairy tees with a lot of alcohol and other stuff. But
Yeah,
they,
I mean,
and
but
then they have
essentially what
other
you're
formals and all-
explaining is a clique from high school, a few years older, add alcohol.
Yeah.
Instant asshole. That's what I call alcohol in a 19-year-old boy. Instant asshole.
And they're full of the haves and the have-nots, and the nice looking and the not so nice looking.
And if you don't drink, and if you don't party, you're a nerd, right? You're a nerd.
So basically, what we said.
And
if you want to go college and learn, then I mean, come on.
You have a choice. I liked that when he said they had a choice to drink the fifth of vodka. That's baloney. I mean, yes, they had a choice, but they didn't have a choice. That they would be ousted. It's just.
It doesn't even sound fun. Like, it sounds very stressful, and it sounds like it would take a lot of unnecessary energy and time to try to fit in with these older assholes. Like, it's just like little assholes joining older assholes in these frat houses. Like,
and it feels like there's a lot of pressure put on these young people as well, doesn't it? You know,
right? And then this kid dies, and they're like, "Oh, sorry. I mean, we put him in the what was it called?
Yeah,
the chapter room. The
chapter meeting room,
because that's where the serious stuff happens. Chapter.
Yeah, it's like their meeting room.
I mean,
right?
they have a chaplain. Yep. I mean, it's like they have formal ceremonies. They're all different. They have dress codes to go into the chapter room. You're not supposed to go in there without a shirt that's a button-down shirt. I mean, they have all these little rules.
Kidding me? Yeah, and you know what?
And,
these are the little assholes that are putting on their button-ups to go into this chapter room, but then at night they're getting shit-faced drunk and pushing sex on girls that don't really want it, and bad things like that are happening. And when you have I don't want to say a gang, but in a sense, a gang of guys, telling these 19-year-olds, 18-year-olds, you have to drink this whole bottle, and whatever they're doing to them until they do, it is absolutely asinine to me.
Yep.
Illegal.
I mean, honestly,
no,
if I
is,
heard about this story, and I had a business, and I was hiring. And one of these boys applied for a job, and on their resume was that they lived in that house, and they didn't call on that night. I wouldn't hire them. I wouldn't even want them. I don't know, man. It's just like, I don't understand how it's so impressive.
No. And then there's the whole thing that we're setting these kids up, that if there is a disaster or a trauma or something happens, we've put them in a powder keg. We put all the guys together in this competing atmosphere, added alcohol. It's not the way it was 50 years ago or 30 years ago.
No, and people say it is.
Have changed.
Well,
It
I
just
think
has
society
changed.
has
It's different.
changed. Society has
Correct.
changed.
Yes.
Yep.
Correct.
The whole Greek
And
thing,
you
it's all
can't
the same,
have-
right? They probably still have the same rule books they had in 1915 or whatever,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
But back in the 80s, there wasn't, I mean, yes, there were rapes. I'm sure it's always been a problem. But, the drugs that we have now and the sedatives, the speed, I mean, you name it. All, they're on so many substances, legally and illegally, add alcohol. I mean, all of this is scary. Leave out this whole hazing and needing to fit in crap.
I know. And I was just thinking about Kylie Rodney. Kylie Rodney, we saw the same kind of thing there, didn't we? This girl goes missing. No one's really coming forward. Everyone's closing down. So we're seeing this happen over and over again in different in different states, and where it's a
Kimberly Page, I commend you. Kimberly Page said, I pledged a sorority, and after getting alcohol poisoning from being encouraged to drink too much, I dropped. Just not worth it and was not the right choice for me.
Wow. Well done, you.
Yeah, good for you.
Good for you.
But, a lot of people are weak. A lot of people are weak and followers. So, obviously there's more followers than there are leaders in the world, just by nature.
Well, and then you've got the ones that just painfully just so want to fit in. They're willing to do anything, even if it means that they've become a bit of a butt of the joke, or they don't even see that,
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's supposed to be a mentoring type thing. It's supposed to be. I mean,
It's supposed to be positive. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
So I'm not digging their, I mean, they do stuff. I'm not digging that. I'm just saying that in 2023, the 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds we are raising, putting them in this environment is like a powder keg.
Right.
That's
I mean,
all I'm
I
saying.
think as parents, we have to be smarter than this and not encourage this anymore, because this isn't what it used to be. Like, even if I interviewed the nicest woman that was in the sorority next to where Ted Bundy struck at the Seattle campus, I think it was, right? Tacoma or Seattle. But anyways, she was the nicest woman, and her daughter went through sorority and all that stuff. But it's a different world now than even when her and her daughter went through the sorority.
Yep. I don't think people have understood or even begun to comprehend what has happened to our society now that we have a full generation of human beings who have had access to learning or reaching out to other people and had that instant gratification with the technology their entire lives, if they had access to it. Their entire lives. This is the first generation, and now they're adults. And I think that they look at a lot of things differently.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Well, I want to play this video really quick. This is a year ago. Let me give you some backstory here. Yeah, this is actually September 3rd of 2021. Pullman, this is Pullman Police again. Gary Jenkins. After they had a mask mandate for a long time there. In 2021 September, they had just lifted it. But I don't know if this is this is nothing against any political party or belief, but we know that universities are very liberal. So we have probably a very liberal campus, right? So, I mean, take this story for what you will, but this is a little alarming anytime to me that someone is impersonating a police officer or someone working for the police. Now listen.
Return of Cougar football this weekend, Pullman police are sending out a warning about a man who was on campus posing as mask enforcement. Now, we caught up with our Morgan Trow, who was on WSU's campus earlier today in our newscast. But now she also says students and other community members need to be aware that someone is trying to get their personal information.
It's a rite of passage to tailgate before and during Coug football games. But Pullman police warn of a man pretending to be mask enforcement. If you are outside and vaccinated, you do not need to wear a mask on WSU campus or surrounding areas. However, Pullman police say students are reporting a man approaching unmasked students and attempting to punish them. Police Chief Gary Jenkins adds that the man is pretending to be mask enforcement and takes pictures of the students' IDs and license plates. He also adds that the man says he will be sending people tickets. Pullman police, WSU police, and the WSU administration are not doing mask enforcement.
I think that's really creepy. One, I don't think there is such a thing as mask enforcement. If you're outside, you don't need to be wearing a mask. If you're indoors, you do. Safety is important, but it's creepy that there's a dude walking around and trying to take pictures of people's license plates and IDs just because they're not wearing a mask outside. It's something that should be addressed on the campus.
This kid has more sense than this entire department combined.
Absolutely.
I mean, he read my mind. What the hell?
Come on.
Okay, let's finish. Oh, boy.
Law enforcement says the man is driving a 2000s Toyota. Right now, they do not know what he looks like. Jenkins says students that are approached should ask for the man's credentials or just say no. The school recommends students report suspicious activity to local law enforcement.
Just say no. He's taking pictures of students and their license plates. What? Just say no. This isn't a DARE program. What the fuck are they talking about? I mean, I'm stunned. Stunned.
Me too.
Now, they do not know what he looks like. Jenkins says students that are approached should ask for the man's credentials or just say no. The school recommends students report suspicious activity to local law enforcement and not to give out their personal information. At this point, what the man is doing is completely legal since he isn't technically impersonating a police officer. But Chief Jenkins does say that he could be using that information to commit fraud or other crimes in the future.
You think, Jenkins?
No.
Is
Hey,
this
that's a familiar
just,
name.
I mean, I can't make this shit up. I can't make it up. Who was doing
When
this?
I tell you I'm looking, help me help you. I'm trying to find good things about because they, I want, and it's just the further I dig, the worse it's just
the worse
like,
it gets.
Oh, no.
And I'm not even
Yeah.
digging, you guys. I mean, it's not like I'm sitting here every night going, what can I find on Pullman? What can I find on WSU? What can I find? Literally, I will go and I even demonstrated yesterday in the live. I Google, a straight Google search, Pullman Police Department, police blotter. You read it, you're sucked in because it's never ending. Never ending. I wish it was like, make it stop. Like, I want to just see them all. Like, that's why I'm watching them all. I'm like, just show me them all so I can, move forward. But there's no end in sight.
No.
I mean, sadly, shit. Do you want to see one more?
Yeah.
Wait, I've
If
got.
you want to show it.
Yeah.
I've got a really cheesy one. I'll save for the end. Don't let me forget to play the cheesy lawyer at the end. Okay.
We definitely won't.
Now, we had okay, so we've got a couple things here. We have something that happened on and I don't know why I'm so focused on WSU. I think because this is where this creep went. Now, this right here is not a bad incident. This is going to be educational. So I expect my numbers to drop by the hundreds.
The trial starts for
because
Elon
I'm not
Musk.
talking about, drama or rumors.
And today the
But
trial
check this
starts for
out.
Elon Musk.
Oh my God, why is it doing this? Elon Musk.
Why are you blaming Elon? What did he do?
Deadly shooting in
No,
West
I'm trying to get a video.
We
of
begin
it.
tonight with a former police chief.
It's autoplay. Oh my God, I got to close that out. It was auto-playing. Like Brian Koberger just took over my damn computer. He's like, stop talking about my
That's
alma
scary.
mater. Okay, I got it this time, I think.
And today the trial.
Okay, this is straight from Washington State University News, actually. Let's share our screen. And this will give you a bird's eye view into the police intern program. Have you been curious about that? How the WSU, and this is unlisted now. How did I find it? How do I find these things? 11 years ago.
I ask you that all the time.
I don't know. Okay, so it says the next time you encounter an officer from the WSU Police Department, you may notice someone riding in the passenger seat, an intern. The intern program allows students to get a hands-on experience with law enforcement, doing many things a commissioned officer does.
Yep. This is how I came up with my theory.
Cody Watts. Cody Watts. Okay. Here we go. Mind you, this is unlisted material. I'm just kidding. It is unlisted, though. I don't know why.
The Intern Academy is important
Now
for
it is.
people because As interns, we back up officers and do what they allow us to do. And without certain training, knowledge, and skills, we wouldn't be able to accomplish these things. We would be of no use to the officers as interns. We'd be a civilian rider sitting there watching with nothing else to do.
It's really a great experience, even if you're not going to be a police officer, if that's not your interest for a career. It gives you so much experience that can apply to your entire life. You get much more respect for what an officer does and how stressful or not stressful their life can be from day to day.
For actually the small amount of police skill and information that we're learning, it is a lot. It is a lot, and so far I can tell that it's going to be helping me in the future doing my police work as an intern.
We try to give them a little taste of everything you would get in the regular basic law enforcement academy, but of course we don't have the time or the resources for that. So we just try to break it down, give them a little bit of information about a lot of different topics, and so that they've got kind of a base if they do decide to become an officer and are at the academy. They've got some knowledge of the topics that they'll be learning about.
The interns that leave our program, the ones that get hired are the ones that put forth the most effort. Those folks breeze through field training, and they're the ones that have long, successful careers.
Okay, so tell me about your theory, Mary.
We need to hear it.
So my theory is that if he really is as smart as he is, that his end goal was to have a patsy and come back and solve it, because they talk about him answering questions and applying to the internship. They never tell us if he's in the internship. They never say anything else about it. And so when I went and looked this up a couple weeks ago, it seemed like they changed at the semester. So I started thinking, okay, this was Thanksgiving and the time of year he did it. And so he kind of would have been going home to Pennsylvania and coming back, starting his internship, and like the biggest case ever would have just happened, and he'd be able to solve it.
Or be part of it, maybe, of solving it. Get some kind
Yeah,
of
right,
notoriety
exactly.
other than being the murderer, and be like,
Right.
I'm the smartest. I outsmarted the
Pin it
FBI.
on Brett. Right, pin it on Brett. He'd be the only one that would know the real story his whole life. And then, to be really sick and twisted, he'd go and be the professor that teaches, and he'd teach all the students not the real thing, and he'd get to relive this fantasy of his through teaching it, and he'd have this secret.
Well, I saw, and to piggyback off of that, I thought, after watching an interview with an ex-FBI agent, that he could have, what was the last, say the last part of your theory again.
That he would have had a patsy, I think, Brett, potentially, and then he would have come back, solved the case, and then he would have taught the kids the case as it was, but would have all known the whole time this sick, twisted secret.
Okay,
that,
so
you
this
know, he would have come-
investigator, I don't know who he was. I don't remember. I've watched so much. But he was saying that he would, oh my God, I lost it again. Mary, what are you doing to me?
I'm sorry.
Because there's so much going through my mind and I'm looking at different stuff. Okay, I'm going to stop looking at other tabs. Say the last part
one more time. He's sick and twisted teaching and having this secret that he could get off on why he taught his students.
Yes. Okay, so
the story.
The woman that he worked under, Kathleen Ramslin.
Yeah.
This person had a theory that if he got away with this, that he would not only, have outsmarted all of these investigators, but he would be the best professor because she's teaching from her studies, from her research. He would be teaching from first-hand knowledge. So he wouldn't be, referring to BTK for his input. He would have it. So he would be the best criminology professor ever.
Correct. And he would have he would have killed, so he would know what it was like. That was my other thought, was that he would, because he had done it, if he wasn't going to be like this serial killer, right? Which I kind of think he probably would have. But let's say he just did it this once. He would have been sick and twisted and understanding that I know what it's like. So when I talk to a killer, I can get to them in a way that no other professor or professional can. Yeah, I think he thought he was going to come in, be the doctoral PhD student that saved the day, became the professor, and
was going to have
yay,
all
rah.
this notoriety, like at the university. I mean, he'd be huge.
And so when you kind
Correct.
of look at the BTK connection, you know, in a way, this was Brian's project, and it was going to be from the beginning to the end, and he was the author.
It's really interesting
Yep.
because we did hear early on that he applied, and then it was just like shushed. Like we didn't hear anything else about it, you know?
Yeah.
Yep. And they were watching him. I mean, they raided his house. They broke through what, 3 doors? I mean, they had surveillance on him. You don't do that for your regular PhD criminology student who,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like they have taken this seriously from the get-go. And I really think that there's a lot more connection here than we know. And I think they know that. And I
Yeah.
think he knows that. I think they communicated that to him in the probable cause affidavit. And I think that that's why you potentially may have seen a change
At an
in
Alpha
his
Tau
body
Omega
language
pledge
between
event.
when he
Now,
was
as of tonight, more than a dozen.
put before
One
the judge
member
the first
described
time.
Sam as
Then he would
really
have left
drunk.
and been able to
An
read the
outside
PCA
vendor
with his
celebrate
lawyer
in
and
hopes of
realize
cracking
what they were
Sam's phone's
charging him.
security.
Absolutely.
But here's the
And I think a lot of what they put in that PCA was to dangle in front of him versus us.
Yeah.
His whole demeanor was completely different from that first hearing to the second.
And no one ever thinks, you know, someone's going to commit a crime like that. You just think, what a weirdo. And especially when you're young, you know, and you just go about your day and your business.
I'm in no doubt that Brian thought this was literally the ultimate kind of plan, and it was, you know, and he thought it through, and yeah, he thought he
I
was
don't
so
know.
clever.
For real.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I fully plan when the trial happens, if it's televised, and I do hope it is, because I think that people learn a lot from watching the justice system. I think, like what you were saying, Jay, watching committees and watching people don't understand how to communicate in an effective way. And there are still people running systems and local systems and whatnot. And so you can learn a lot and how to change the system if you watch these things. And
yeah,
I
for
don't know,
sure.
sketchy stuff.
Yeah, it's all right in front of you. You just have to watch it, and you have to have patience. So one other thing I learned from watching those K-Bar videos was, here, I'm going to show you just the thumbnail. I don't know if we think that Brian could have been wearing a pair of boots, but I know we heard about Vans. But my question is, I mean, this is just interesting. This guy put the sheath where it was in his boot, and all he had to do was take his thumb, undo the snap, and pull the knife out of his boot.
Yeah.
Oh, can you see that or no?
Not yet.
Oh, I can.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, you can see it now.
Yeah.
But like, if you know those high top Vans?
Mm-hmm. You know, Converses have diamond patterns too. Just on
Yeah,
the
they
bottom.
did say like a Vans. They didn't say it was a Vans. They just said similar
Although
or something to a Vans shoe.
It's not a good shoe for doing those types of things, by the way. Like that's dumb criminology 101.
What
you
is?
don't wear flat shoes.
Oh,
You don't wear flat shoes
like
if you're gonna
OJ,
off 4 people with a knife. Like
like
that's
OJ
not,
with his Bruno Amagli's or whatever
Yeah.
they're called. Amuglies.
Oh yeah, yeah, Bruno Amali's.
Bruno
Well,
Amali's.
the material would have been completely wrong, wouldn't it?
Yep. I think that
Investigating the joint for
is
traps.
there
Checking my telephone for
to
text.
explain something to him about Dylan and how they can prove that she saw him. I think that's more what that footprint is about. I don't know why. I just have a feeling it has less to do with. I'm sure they have tons of footprints inside.
Oh, they must have.
Well, what worries me is that the van's footprint was said in the probable cause to have been retrieved on the second visit to the house by investigators, and it was done with, it had to be pulled up with some chemical. Like it didn't sound like it was visible to the naked eye, but I could be wrong on that. I would have to go back and
They sprayed it with the black alumini stuff. I don't know what it's called.
So
and,
I don't
and it will
know what that
any
means.
biological material. It could be urine. I mean, to be honest, it could be any biological material.
Okay.
Will,
So
yeah,
did they say it was blood though?
No, they said biological material.
They did. Okay.
I do believe. I can
remember.
go back and look at the wording.
Yeah,
but
I'm gonna have to look into that deeper later
Yeah,
when we have more time.
And it's obviously worth bearing in mind that when people kind of pass, usually bodily functions, yeah. So trigger warning on that, but that would normally be of what would happen. So he could have been stepping in all kinds of stuff.
I mean, it could be dog shit.
Yeah.
So dogs, I have something.
Mm-hmm.
You know how in the warrant, the unsealed version, they say a dog hair shaft,
Well,
correct?
Pullman
Is that,
police are continuing
possibly
their
a
search for
dog hair shaft. So if I'm going to look into those words, hair shaft means not just hair, it means you have the follicle at the bottom, which means firstly you have DNA. So you can take that follicle and not just what kind of animal is it, but which particular animal is it? Like, is this Murphy or not Murphy? Period. Also, the fact that they said hair versus fur, it could be nothing. However, Labradoodles, golden doodles, the reason why they're hypoallergenic and the reason why people think they don't shed, which they do shed, but not a lot.
It's like a Yorkie.
But
I had
they
Yorkies. They will
have
shed,
hair.
but very little, and they don't it doesn't make, whoever has allergies, they don't get bothered by it.
Right. Because it's not fur, it's hair, which is why I think they use the word hair. So when I see dog hair rather than dog fur, to me that says it's probably a poodle mix. Just from what I know from dogs.
Or did they find something from Buddy, the skinned dog?
Well, that's why I thought it was interesting that it didn't say dog fur.
Yeah.
Because if Buddy was not a hypoallergenic dog, he would have fur.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the terminology they would use if they were using the scientific,
Yeah, I don't know.
terminology.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to read between the lines, Here's another video for you guys. Another WSU event. A WSU, actually, a professor was assaulted. Pullman police, this is a long time ago, this is 9 years ago, but Pullman police are continuing their search for the suspects involved in the assault of WSU professor Dr. David Warner, who was found unconscious in the parking lot of Adams Mall early Saturday morning. So this isn't a joke. He was unconscious.
Well, Pullman police are continuing their search for the suspects.
Can you see it or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Involved in the assault of a WSU professor. Police found Dr. David Warner unconscious in the parking lot of Adams Mall early Saturday morning. KXY4's Aaron Luna joins us now. And Aaron, police are now releasing surveillance video of this incident.
No, that's right. Since the police have suspects but haven't been able to identify them, they're hoping these videos will help. The first video is of three suspects before.
It's not playing on our screen and we can't hear it.
Maybe I'm playing the wrong window. Told you I had too many open. Hang on.
This is like a half bald guy.
Yeah, it's the right reporter. It's the wrong screen. Hold on.
Yeah.
There we go. He should move now.
Pullman police are continuing their search for the suspects involved in the assault of a WSU professor. Police found Dr. David Warner unconscious in the parking lot of Adams Mall early Saturday morning. KXY4's Aaron Luna joins us now. And Aaron, police are now releasing surveillance video of this incident.
No, that's right. Since the police have suspects but haven't been able to identify them, they're hoping these videos will help. The first video is of 3 suspects before the assault. You can see them walking from right to left wearing dark clothing. The second video is of a 4th female subject also walking right to left and wearing a sweater around her waist. Here's some zoom-in shots there.
Great footage.
In this assault could face serious charges.
We have at least, at minimum, a felony assault. If his condition, worsens, it could be a homicide investigation.
At last check, Dr. Warner was in critical condition in the ICU unit at Sacred Heart here in Spokane. Pullman police are hoping this new video will help generate new information on the identities of the suspects. You can see them walking up to the corner of your screen there, leaving the parking lot just up from the stairs. Warner taught American Studies at WSU. His friends and family set up a Facebook page called Rally for David Warner. There's a link on that page to collect donations for Warner's hospital bills. Reporting in the studio, Aaron Luna, KXLY.
I mean, what the hell, man? Like, what's going on there? Why do these, they beat this professor unconscious?
This looks like a small little town. Like, why is this all happening there?
I don't know. That's brutal.
I know.
I'm looking him up to see if he actually survived, because I didn't follow up with it. He has a traumatic brain. Oh my God. He has a traumatic brain injury.
Oh God.
That's just awful.
You guys, this is tragic shit. Like, what?
It is.
Check this out.
And his poor family.
For the first time since the assault that left Dr. David Warner with a traumatic brain injury in March of 2013, he is speaking out about his recovery. This is in 2014. Every day I have to tell myself, David, you just made it another day. You can do this. People are not going to look at you weirdly. Warner still struggles with speech, but after his injury, he says he could only speak 5 words.
Oh, God.
He spent several months in Spokane, I don't know how, Spokane, however you guys say it, Pecan hospital recovering. Spokane. After almost a year of investigations, the Whitman County prosecutors announced it would not press any charges against the 5 people involved in the incident.
Why?
Prosecutors said all the evidence provided did not prove beyond a reasonable doubt there was any criminal action. A doctor who evaluated Warner's injuries said his traumatic brain injury was consistent with being kicked in the head. They were also consistent with his head hitting the pavement. Police say Warner was simply trying to break up a fight outside a Pullman bar just off the WSU campus when he was injured. Dr. Warner and his parents say the support that poured in from around the world has been overwhelming and very helpful in his recovery. Friends, family, and former students of Warner organized a donation fund. They raised more than $20,000. Despite no criminal charges being filed, the Warner family has since hired an attorney and plans to pursue civil legal action. You guys, what the fuck? What?
That's terrible. See, this is
how they protect
I'm sorry,
their
but this
professors? I mean,
yeah, it's sick.
The heck?
And nobody got anything.
Correct me if I'm wrong here. And you guys might have to school me on this, but I've come across in my, findings here. And Haley, your dog's absolutely hilariously cute. Oh my God.
I know. I'll just put him on for everyone to see.
Oh my God, the hoodie.
I know. Dave loves his jumper.
That's Dave?
That's Dave.
Oh, and he wears a jumper. A jumper.
Oh my God, a
jumper.
That is adorable.
He's so cute.
He is really cute. Dave made me
What's his
lose
name?
my train of thought. Dave.
Dave.
Dave's not here,
Dave.
man.
Dave's
Oh.
not here. Dave's dead.
I've
Yep.
come across like Indian stuff. I know there's like Indian reservations around there. So, I mean, don't laugh at me because I'm not familiar. I've never been out west. Okay.
I can't believe you're talking about this, Jay.
Why?
Like I went into because today when the thing I went into when I was listening to this the reverend's thing, he mentions a couple things, and one of the things he mentions is all about this huge thing that happened in 1981 about reservations and all, like what you're going to talk about. So go.
Yeah. I mean, what the heck? So do they not like the Indians? Are they like mean to them? I don't know, but I was just looking at this man and he looks American Indian to me. He looks like he might be American Indian. And there's like all those reservations. Well, the Nez Pierce, you know how like there's Nez Pierce Drive? There's the Nez Pierce tribe. Did you know that?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Yeah, I just realized all of this. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh wow. So I wonder, because I don't know what that, what the culture's like out there.
I'm trying to find. Of course, I lost it. I think I bookmarked it. Maybe I did the bookmarks right this time. Let me see. If I did, I have the name of where the holdup was. They put a wall up. It has to do with slavery too. It's crazy.
It was
The
racial,
stuff you're
I
digging
think.
into is crazy.
Yeah, I think it's racial against the Indians because look, the person who wrote a letter to the editor, because they said that they put a tribute, welcome home, Dr. Dave. She was writing saying, he's nowhere near, recovery. And her title is WSU Critical Culture, Gender, Race Studies under her name. So I think it might have been racially motivated and there might be something there with, whatchamacallit, the Indians. I mean, I got nothing against American Indians. I have nothing but respect for them. So I don't know what it's like there though, but I've come across these and it's nothing like in particular that I can remember. I just remember coming across things about Indian tribes and maybe like how they have their own police and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I don't know. I mean, I didn't go into it. It's just it's popped up here and there. But this is the poor man right here.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah. I mean, to think that there was no charges in that, like,
How on earth can there be no charges?
yeah.
Well, they said his head looked like it might have been kicked, or he may have just hit the pavement. And I think that's how they got away with it.
Right.
Because they said it could just be the pavement.
And,
he was breaking
the
up the fight.
students all gathered for him. And, it just doesn't even matter. Like, the students don't even, it seems like, have a huge voice there. Like, they're completely, and like, from my perception, from the outside looking in, it looks like they're just kind of, squelched of their voice. I mean, they can protest all they want, but you can't really overcome the powers that be. So I just thought that was so unfortunate. I didn't dig into it. I just saw this video and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I did not realize that he was beaten unconscious and has a brain injury from this. The guy
that he would have that he's gonna have to deal with the rest of his life and his family. He will probably need, a lot of care. I mean, this is an injury that's going to stay with him and his family for the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes down to people thinking they're privileged to do it. Like who? I can't even imagine. Who thinks they should be able to do that?
Yeah,
I know.
It's unfortunate. It really is. And I think, like we were talking about, the whole, like, not all Greek life, but, that bullying mentality, it's kind of promoted in a sense where, it's become the norm. Oh, this is what we do to initiate.
Right.
It's just what happens.
But he had a choice.
Mm-hmm. But we put it back on, the kid who's supposed to be being mentored.
Yeah. Correct.
Oh, man. I love our discussions, though. I mean, we do definitely go across.
And today, the trial starts for Elon Musk because of comments he made about Tesla on Twitter.
Yeah, you do.
I like that, you guys are willing and open to kind of bounce around with me because I definitely bounce around, and I hope that my ADD doesn't stress everybody out. I hope that I know it probably stresses Potato out because she does the chapters. Can you imagine being Potato and having to make chapters of my lives? I mean, God bless her for that.
Oh, I can't imagine.
Mary's like, I can't even imagine. I can't even think about it. It makes me sweat just thinking about it.
No, it doesn't, because I'd be jumping around just like you. See, I have no sweat at all. No problem. Okay, moving on. So if you're good with us talking about all this stuff, I'm good with us
I
talking
mean,
about
I'm good because I
Jeff's
think,
good with us.
this is what dialogue consists of. This isn't scripted. We're not saying you can only talk about Brian Koberger. No, we're talking about this entire area, the culture, what the university offers in their programs. I mean, I think this is comprehensive and responsible research that we do.
And the good thing is, it just naturally flows. So, and that's how it should be. And that's how it should be.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us.
On that note, I'm going to say good night.
Okay, good night to you and to Dave.
Yeah.
Look at Dave. He's so cute.
I know. I love Dave.
He's so cute. He's very naughty. He's very cheeky. He's only
cheeky.
He's
cheeky monkey.
He's on a, I don't know, we're having a bit of a standoff at the moment. He's only really eating sausages. So
sausages.
He's on a sausage hunger strike.
Yeah. No.
Hey, I don't blame him.
Me too, Dave.
I don't know what's going on with him. I'm going to try and have a word with him tomorrow and see if I can find out what's happening, what's going on. But
anyway, thank you for joining, and I, as always, enjoy your conversation. You guys check out Haley's channel.
Love you all in chat and obviously on panel, and I shall no doubt be seeing you all soon.
Yeah, have a good night. Get some sleep.
Yeah, good night from me. Good night from Dave. Don't have nightmares.
Good night, David.
Yeah.
Good night.
Have a good weekend.
Yeah, have a good weekend.
Love you all. Good night.
Love ya.
Bye.
All right, I've got a couple more. I've got 2 more videos for you guys. HJ, you might want to screen grab her neck. That looks like a future profile picture. Just saying.
Will do.
La 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 means be quiet and let me finish.
Poor lady. Okay.
Behind the curtains.
Okay, so this is actually 4 years ago. And sadly, it only has 46 views. WSU police, we're back to WSU, said their officer has been placed on paid administrative leave. There's 2 officers. Let's see what happened.
And
I'm Jane McCarthy. The Washington State Patrol is investigating 2 law enforcement officers for possible sexual assault in Pullman.
A Washington State University student says she was sexually assaulted by an officer back in March. The student filed a complaint with the WSU on April 6th. The details of the alleged assault are unclear to us right now, but we do know the student was contacted twice the night of March 30th for underage drinking. Once by university police, once by Pullman police.
We can provide counseling. We can provide new living arrangements if we have a student who's the victim of a sexual assault and they're not comfortable in their living situation. We can find them different places to stay on campus. Really, for us, the most important thing is to make sure we take care of the survivor so that he or she.
The most important thing is to make sure that we keep getting that tuition.
Is in good shape and can recover.
Both officers involved are now on paid administrative leave while WSP investigates.
We start with breaking news.
Good evening and thank you for joining us.
Hold on.
And some tense moments at Washington State University tonight. Students are back in their dorm.
Good evening and thank you. Good evening and thank you.
Hold on. Man.
Good evening and thank you for joining us.
Holy hell. Okay. Stop, Mark. Stop talking, Mark. Thank you. Wait, I've got one more to piggyback on this, okay? So we're not going to talk about the whole case, but that's the beginning, and I'm going to show you the end.
We start with breaking news.
Okay, let me pull it up. Oh my gosh. I think Amazon's here. Can you hear my dog barking? Bella barking?
Yep.
Bella. Okay, here we go. And then we're going to do our cheesy, and then we're done.
We start with breaking news. The student government at Washington State University wants a former police sergeant accused of a sex crime with a student put on trial again. In March of 2018, Dan Hargraves was accused of picking up an 18-year-old student who was drunk and forcing her to perform a sex act on him. Earlier this month, a Whitman County jury deadlocked and a mistrial was declared. Today, the student body put out a formal statement calling for the county to try Hargraves again.
Tonight, a deadlocked jury forced a mistrial in the case
So
of
the end result was that they did not try him again. So that was another one. And, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but it was never tried again. He was never put on the stand again. And the student,
a lot of that going on out there.
Yeah, the student body was outraged. They were demanding the retrial. And it didn't happen. But, now that I watch all of these, I get all of these pop-ups of
A Pullman police
new
sergeant.
ones. This is great. I have to share one more because this goes along with that same case. And don't get me wrong, like Mary, I love law enforcement, and anybody who watches
Pullman police sergeant is charged with
they know that I love and respect law enforcement. My sister is a retired police officer, so I just don't like corrupt or lazy police officers. And I just think in a college town, this is just so alarming.
Sergeant is charged with custodial sexual misconduct. This comes after a 6-month-long investigation.
They're the role models.
Sergeant Dan
when it comes down
Hargraves
to
is
it.
being.
Yeah, I mean, and it's alarming that they're commingling with these students. I don't know. It's just, it makes you wonder about, crimes and, certain crimes and stuff that, what if these, are they threatened to come, if they come forward? You just don't know. It's really scary to think of being a young girl and being in a position like that.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's take a listen to what the evidence was against this guy.
This comes after a 6-month-long investigation.
Sergeant Dan Hargraves is being held without bail at the Whitman County Jail. We're told he's on paid administrative leave.
He's being held without bail, and he's being
in
paid.
jail. Yeah.
Make it make sense. This is, I'm sorry, that's not the same case. Sorry, this is Pullman. I thought this was the same guy with the sexual assault. This is a different one. This is Dan Hargraves from Pullman.
There's so many intermingled. I mean, it really is incredible how many different police units there are in that little area.
Right? It really is. It really is. It's quite fascinating. All right.
Amanda Rowley is in Pullman now with new information on this case. Amanda?
And correct me if I'm wrong, but does that not resemble the damn courthouse where Ted Bundy escaped in Colorado? It's like old like that. The windows. Look how old the Whitman County
built
courthouse
in the same era.
It was. But look at the Moscow police. They have a brand new state-of-the-art facility that was just erected a couple years ago. And yes, I said erected.
John Wayne Bobbitt's penis.
Washington State Patrol arrested Sergeant Dan Hargraves early this morning at the Pullman Police Department. Now, according to court documents, detectives found DNA on the victim's clothing from the night of the incident that matched Sergeant Hargraves. Court documents say on the night of March 30th, 49-year-old Pullman Police Sergeant Dan Hargraves noticed a WSU freshman student stumbling down Cougar Way after drinking at several parties on Greek Row. He drove her back to her dorm at Duncan Dunn Community Hall.
Okay. I mean, all you have to hear is 49 years old and drunk college student. His DNA shouldn't be anywhere near her. Yeah, his DNA should be nowhere near her.
And police officer, who do you go to when you need help?
Yeah. Is this? Oh, this is Pullman. Never mind. See, I'm getting confused. All right, let's keep listening.
And gave her a warning for her intoxication. According to court documents, despite being told a second time to stay in her dorm room, Pullman Sergeant Hargraves saw her again staggering outside the dorm. Docs say Sergeant Hargraves told her she disobeyed his commands and had to take her to the station. He didn't put any handcuffs on her. In the report, the student said she became upset and told Hargraves she would do anything to not get arrested. She told investigators she thought she would have to pay him a good sum of money. She reported the patrol car then became very quiet and the car stopped. Court docs say the student's cell phone showed she arrived at Reaney Park just before 1 a.m. She told investigators she...
So... What? He got off?
Had a vague recollection of the sexual assault that took place. Court docs say Hargraves eventually dropped her off at Rogers Hall, where her friends were expecting her. The student reported the assault in April, and Washington State Patrol detectives swabbed patrol cars of the 2 officers the student came in contact with that night. Results came back negative. Then, after a DNA analysis of the victim's clothing from the night of the incident, they found DNA on her sleeve that matched Hargraves. In a press conference with Pullman Police Chief Gary Jenkins, he commended the student for being courageous and coming forward to report the assault.
We stand here acknowledging that there was a failing in our department, and that we know that our people have to be held to a higher standard of conduct because of the trust the public places in us.
Now, Chief Jenkins also confirmed in the press conference this morning that in 2016, Sergeant Hargraves was reported for sending inappropriate text messages to a female employee at the police department. He was later subject to supervisory counsel. Now, the Pullman Police Department plans to do its own investigation, an internal investigation, in addition to the criminal investigation by Washington State Patrol. Now, in Hargraves' first appearance today here at Whitman County Courthouse, he was released from jail with no bond. Reporting from the Whitman County Courthouse, Amanda Rowley.
Oh my God.
What? You guys.
Even she sounds exasperated and over it. Like, are you kidding me?
If you start watching some of these news reports, they all are like that. They all are like that.
They're asking for it.
It's like crazy.
They're
Mary?
I'm wordless. I don't even know what to say.
I
just can't even believe. Sorry, I can't even believe that this, I can give you a million reasons why he might have had DNA on his sleeve. They didn't say it was, semen. They didn't, they said DNA. Maybe he helped her up the stairs. Like, I can come up with a million good things that came from it. However, if you're then stopping somewhere for 30 minutes and you can't, or however long it was, and pinging and you can't explain it, well, I just feel like we're understanding how much people take advantage of other people, given that they can't get away with it anymore. And I think it's shocking how many people feel like they have the right to put whatever power they want in any way on someone else.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm floored at, this being just 4 years ago, like 2018. And
right. Imagine if your daughter went to the police because they were drinking
and the police escorted them home, and then they come home and say, yeah, and they assaulted me when it happened.
Your audio just changed. I think you might have picked up on a different mic or something.
And, bubble wrapping themselves.
Mary, can you hear me? Uh-oh.
I don't think she can.
Your audio just changed. I don't know what you did, but your audio switched.
Oh.
You sound like you're in a
All right,
tunnel.
let me mute it.
You sound like you're in
All
a
right, I'll
tunnel.
fix it.
Water.
Yeah. Well, we're getting ready to wrap this up anyways. I just, there's just these things that keep popping up. So now I keep getting recommendations, and we all know how that goes, right, HJ? It means HJ gets a bunch of links sent to her.
Go down this rabbit hole with me.
Hello? Read this. Hurry. I get to be a spaz. I get excited. I get passionate about my stuff, right?
It's so funny though. You'll send me something and you'll be freaking out about it. I don't even have time to read what you're freaking out about.
I know. You're like, I have no idea what you're talking about right now. I'm like, oh, just
like, give me time to freak out too.
Okay, so our final video is going to be, I guess I'm doing in a roundabout way, kind of an advert for someone. But this is
Spotlight.
This is attorney, the law office of Stephanie Dorn. Okay. Now, Miss Stephanie, her title says Criminal Records from Washington State University, WSU, Whitman County, Pullman, Court, Spotlight, Washington State Expungement Attorney. This was put out 3 months ago. So that would have been after the murders, right?
Yes.
Yep, right around there.
Okay,
yeah.
So meet Stephanie Dorn. I'm going to pee my pants.
Court Spotlight on Washington State University, or WSU, in vacating and expunging criminal records. First of all, the court is exceptionally reasonable to work with and...
Huh? Oh, I'm sharing the wrong window again.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, hold on. This is when I know it's wrapping it up. This is the last video of the night of our Friday. This was fun. It was 3 hours though, long.
Holy moly!
Holy. But I
Am I still in a tunnel?
No, you're good now.
Okay. I got excited and I pulled out the plug on my headphones and it went to my.
Oh, that's okay. We all get
Bluetooth
excited,
one, sorry.
right? I get excited too sometimes. So let's rewind her. Let me reintroduce you to Miss Stephanie Dorn from the law office of Stephanie Dorn.
Court Spotlight on Washington State University, or WSU, in vacating and expunging criminal records. First of all, the court is exceptionally reasonable to work with in Whitman County and Pullman. They will oftentimes do these cases by agreement. If you qualify, there is no need to have a hearing. I handle the entire process. And most kind of college criminal offenses like thefts, driving, minor in possession, supplying liquor, that kind of stuff is going to be eligible to vacate. And if also you have a case that was an arrest but didn't result in a conviction and you haven't had anything since, you may even be able to expunge that arrest. So if you have a record in Whitman County or by Washington State University, feel free to give my office a call. Thank you. Stephanie Dorn, 206-222-8829.
We begin to
Court Spotlight
Thoughts?
on Washington.
Thoughts?
I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Feelings? Discussions? What is this? Mary?
Oh, wow.
I don't even know what to say. I don't know what the purpose of that was.
I don't either.
You want to get our caseload? Come find us so we can expunge.
I don't know. I'm just showing you what I find, you know?
Interesting that there's a need for that.
Yeah, why is there a need for that? That's a good question, HJ.
Yeah, she's a lawyer. So I guess she thought that, Washington State University would be, I don't know why she would think that would be a city to focus on 3 months ago, but We didn't know about
Finding
Brian.
your niche.
We didn't know about Brian Koberger 3 months ago, though. Is the thing, right? We didn't hear about Brian Christopher. Is that his name? Brian Christopher Koberger? Until
I
when?
believe so, yes.
When did we hear about him?
The first
12:30?
time we heard about him would be, yep.
New Year, yeah.
12:30. Well, I don't know. I mean, if she's clout chasing, she's a mind reader. So maybe she's pulling cards and pulling a Ouija board out of her ass in her spare time. I don't know.
I think you've got a Ouija board down your pants. You're going to pull that out.
Yeah, she's
I
marketing.
don't know, maybe there's a lot of tickets people need.
Well, I guess maybe it would be a
undone
little
or something.
cheesy if she targeted University of Idaho at that given moment, right? If you said,
Yes.
"Hey, if you've got, a criminal record in Moscow, I'm your girl."
Yeah.
I guess that would have been a
Anyone
little
looking
crass.
for a criminal attorney.
Give her office a call though. That's Miss Stephanie. So, thank you guys for joining me on panel. I always appreciate you. And I'm going.
Thank you for having me.
Up.
Oh, always. You're always welcome. As long as you're not mooning the crowd. I like doing
Oh,
comments.
come on, Jay. Live a little.
I know. Why are there Brian Hoffman? Let's look at some comments before we get out of here. Brian Hoffman. Why are there no selfies? That generation takes selfies of hamburgers. Selfies, what is he talking about? Of who?
Of whatever, maybe. Of that night, of everything happening, maybe.
Well, just because we haven't seen them doesn't mean they don't exist. And I think that's what we have to keep in mind about everything. Like, just because we haven't heard about it doesn't mean it isn't there. So it's altogether possible that there's pictures. I mean, because honestly, if you look at the grub truck, we know there's photos. We saw Kaylee taking them. Or videos. One of the two.
Yep.
So there's numerous things in her phone, I imagine. The party of 200 or more is what I heard on Dateline. What's lettuce resting calmly? What are you talking about? I don't know what that means.
If it looks like a duck, walks like a duck.
But on
quacks like a
Dateline,
duck,
they
it's a
did
duck.
say there was a party of over 200 the night before, and it was, I think, the homecoming, or is that what it is? Homecoming football game or something?
There was a big football game. There was the, what do they call it? The Betty Ball, which is like a sorority thing. And the big football game. And then the party.
Yeah, I just heard about that when I watched Dateline last night, Brian. I hadn't heard about it before.
So do you guys, I have a little bit of an issue with this whole, I know the word trap house was used, and I know people use words, they throw them out there, and other people get images of what they're saying. But let's just talk about regular college kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 3-day weekend. It's the football game. If they were doing some substance, I wouldn't be surprised, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, there's how many of them were in that house? Of the ones that were in the house, some of them had to, I mean, just statistically of what college kids would do on a 3-day weekend in the beginning of the school year, right off Greek Row. And I'm not saying it in a negative way. I'm saying.
But what does that have to do with the case, though?
Well, it might be a problem for example, I have a theory that the reason why they started potentially with DM and had her lay the groundwork is because when she gets on the witness stand, we're going to find out maybe she was altered in some way. Maybe she took a sleeping pill afterwards. I'm not saying it's nefarious. I'm just saying that I think that she's not going to make a good witness other than setting the scene and putting him there. And then I think they're going to use her to bring in things because that's the way the court works, right? You're telling a story and you have to
set the
make
scene.
The story big enough, right, to bring in the information you want. And so I could be wrong, but I don't think that she's going to make a great witness on cross-examination. And I'm actually hoping they don't put her through too much of it. I'm hoping that it's just like, yeah, he was there. This is what I saw, and I'm kind of done.
Well,
And that's all they need from her.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I hope they don't need to use her that much either. But if they do, I mean, I went back and watched Ted Bundy's parts of his trial, and there were girls that escaped him that had to be cross-examined by him. So I think that, instead of like having like the image of coddling, I think that we need to more talk about, strength and the strength that it will take to get on the stand and to be able to do this. And I think that not mentioning their names and not focusing on them is what's going to make them feel safe doing that in 6 months. People need to leave them alone because 6 months is a lot of time for them to be threatened or be scared, or I don't know how they're protecting these witnesses, but I just think that social media can be the biggest devil of it all when we don't know the half of it. And, I don't want these girls getting scared to testify. That's the last thing I want to see. What do you mean you were there? You were where? At the house? Brian Hoffman.
Oh, he's been talking a lot.
Yeah, he's very chatty right now. There's a link at the top, Brian Hoffman. Come on down. You are the next guest on Jay is for Justice. You got a lot to say. It's a lot of typing, dude. It'd be a lot easier to verbally say it.
Yep.
I mean, he could use, if he was at that party, of course, that could be his defense. I mean, that's common sense, right? But there's people, you guys, you have to remember that there's also husbands that murder wives and they live in the same home, right? And they still manage to have enough evidence to convict. So I don't want to put everything into DNA. I think DNA is
No, I don't
great.
think we should.
I think it's a great, addition. But I think that they're going to have something solid without it because they wanted the judge to write the arrest order and said, you know what, if you don't need to take it into consideration, don't. We don't need it. So,
well, they don't want to complicate how they have to handle the evidence, and if they ask for it and they use it for the warrant, then it has to be within a certain time frame, and your rights go into effect. So if they say, "Hey, judge, if you don't need that, just exclude it," then they can wait till they get him, then they can test him and they can use it.
Right.
Whereas otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to. So they have to fit within the rules too.
Brian Hoffman. I do not understand why we did not know about the big party till 3 days ago. Maybe because, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's something relevant there, and that's why maybe he did attend that party. And if he did attend that party, he might say, yeah, his DNA is there, but explain the sheath underneath a dead body. I just think that the 200 people there is alarming to me just because of all of the that whole place was just a mess. And having to decipher from a 24-hour beforehand party versus the crime in a place that's already messy, I think could be a little complex.
Yes, and what if we find out that they haven't had a party yet since September, let's say? Would they just have a few friends over and this was a big party? And maybe that's the reason why he chose that night, because there were so many people in that house.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there was some type of opportunity for him. That's what Dateline said.
And maybe that's why.
Go ahead.
No, I was just thinking maybe that's why they didn't tell us there was a party, because we didn't need that information and they were focused at that point on the frat party, right?
Well, I mean, maybe we didn't hear about a party because they had to question every motherfucker who was there and figure out who was there. You never know. I mean, if they start talking about this party in the media, do you think they're really going to be able to get a hold of these kids? They're going to be like, oh, hell to the no. I was at that party. You know what I'm saying? So they're going to do like the surprise interviews. They're not going to put it in the media like, hey, there was 200 people there and we want to find probably all 200 so we can talk to them. But if you put it in the news, everybody knows. And that means there's 200 potential witnesses to something. We don't know what happened at that party. It could be part of their case.
So if you put yourself like right off Greek Row, right? Greek Row is there and they're across the street, right? That is the reality of it, isn't it? Pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're across the street from the fraternity. Okay. And they are the fraternity. Well, I don't know about the fraternity itself, but the campus, I would assume, is dry. So you live off campus because you can do these things and get away with them. And if they had a football game and it's very, can you just imagine if they had said it right off the bat? How many, so sorry, I got off track. If you put yourself in the college mindset and you think about, I was at a party that's down this street because they probably all live very close to each other yesterday, and 200 people were there.
Yeah,
and then at 10 o'clock it starts coming around, that word came around that there was a problem, and at noontime the authorities get there.
I would just have to say that a party 24 hours before a quadruple murder is investigated, and that's why it wasn't talked about. Just like everything else they were investigating, we don't know about. Actually, I'm actually pretty grateful that we did find out about this party via Dateline, because we may not have even known that there was a party. So I'm actually grateful that it was kind of leaked in Dateline, because that's interesting and kind of puts a lot into perspective for, why there was all those solo cups and, they had just had this big bash and it wasn't cleaned up yet.
It looked like they had just had a party. That's what it looked like.
I just thought they continuously partied. I mean, I didn't think much of it, but now to hear that there was a big bash, I mean, they hadn't cleaned it up yet. So we don't know if they were nasty all the time. That could have just been the nasty from that party. So.
Right. Yep. Do you think the parents and stuff knew that that's the party?
Probably. Well, I'm sure they probably knew when they were having it. It sounds to me like these girls were very in touch with their parents and very open about what they did.
Do you think that's why Maddie wanted to go back? That's the party that the mom was talking about?
I don't know what that story is.
Aside from showing the car, she wanted to go to a party. And I'm just wondering
Kaylee,
if it
not
was that
Maddie.
party.
Kaylee.
Oh, sorry, Kaylee. Yes. Sorry, Kaylee.
Do I think she wanted to go to that party?
No.
Yeah, her mom said that in
party?
Dateline as well. Yeah, I mean, Dateline was dude, you guys have to watch it. You just have to watch it. Her mom and her mom was on Dateline, and dad. And her mom said, there's this party, and I want to show everybody my car, and I'm going to go down there for the weekend. And that's what she did. So it didn't really say, you were still kind of walking away going, did she live there? Did she not live there? And it makes me feel like my original thought that she had lived somewhere else, was maybe transitioning something, because I think she was being followed. And I think that something happened and she was transitioning something. I don't know. And I've even wondered if she really was going to Texas, or if that's what maybe she put on social media because she wanted her stalker to think. I don't know. My mind has gone a lot of different directions, because I think about myself being, in college and possibly being followed by this weirdo and not really even maybe knowing what he looks like, just having weird things happen. Like the one call that came into the Moscow police, 2 girls wanted to talk to a police officer in person. It said, not on the phone, in person, about sketchy things that had been happening to them over the course of 2 weeks in August. So those types of things, I wonder if Kaylee could have been also, or one of the girls, the victim of the stalking. And it's always been Kaylee that's talked about that was maybe had a stalker, and then they came out and said, oh, we can't confirm that. Blah, blah, blah. Maybe they can't confirm it because maybe she didn't really know who the fuck it was. It could have been a matter of fact where weird things were happening. A girl called 911 because someone was playing with her lock outside her house. I don't know. I just know that someone playing with a lock outside of your house when you're not expecting anyone out there is very scary. And you think about being 18 to 21 years old. It's a little scary. But
That's
yeah,
terrifying.
And her mom did say in Dateline that she did want to attend that party and show off her vehicle. So I don't know if she was staying away from campus because of, certain things that maybe were happening. I don't know. But I'm sure we'll find out eventually.
Will stop posting until they're back, like maybe post a day behind where you are or a day in front of where you are. So people don't know where you are.
Well, I mean, then that is scary because we're in the day and age. I remember when Facebook check-ins, when everybody was checking in, I always thought it was the dumbest thing. Like, I want to go somewhere and people don't need to know where the fuck I am. Like, I'm at the grocery store. Oh, I checked in at Walmart. Like, why do people do that? I've never been that type of person. I like my privacy. But kids these days, they were born with a phone in their hand and they don't know privacy like we do. When we talk about privacy, it doesn't have the same meaning to them.
Right. So along that line, if he was really quote unquote sliding into someone's DMs, he could have thought he was having a relationship with someone without them ever thinking. If they were sending these pictures out and he was replying and they weren't replying back, but he thought you really could. The way they talk to each other and they say, oh, I was talking. Were you talking? No, it was texting. I texted. Well, you don't get everything from the text. There's you don't get the tone of voice. You don't get a lot of things from texting, but they consider it communication. And so everything is taken from the perspective of the individual who reads it.
Mm-hmm.
So it changes. I mean, it's incredible. It just really changes the whole everything. So he could have really thought he was having a relationship with one of these people if he was interacting with the pictures they were taking and he thought they were interacting back.
Sure. I mean, I think it happens all the time. And I think that's a huge problem with OnlyFans and all those sites is that, it's kind of like your own personal strip club, right? On your PC or on your phone or wherever you are. And then, you can follow them on their different platforms and see where they are and see where they're going and see what they're doing and see who their friends are. And it's so easy now to have a name, Google it, and find out where they live, their phone number, everything about them. I mean, their lives are online. So it's really not surprising that stalking right now in this day and age, it's like a stalker's dream.
Yep. It really is.
The thing that I wanted to show here was this lady. Her name is Thunder Sky Studio. I find the best videos. I don't know how, but I watched this, and this is she has it marked as 18 plus. And I want to share this with you guys just because of what we're talking about. I just think that if these young lives, have been lost, I mean, obviously they have, but we need to learn something from it. And I always said that with the Watts case too. There's things to be learned from this case. You don't have to be pro one or the other, but you can look at the whole situation and go, okay, what could have been done differently here? What was the catalyst to, Chris Watts killing his family? Not saying there's blame, but there's always there's always events and reasons and dynamics. And I think that is what is interesting to me, especially in a case like that. And I know Shell's going to kill me for mentioning Watts, but it's just, it's one of those things
He's
where
been mentioned a couple times today. I can just hear Shell in my head.
But he, he's one of those just ordinary average guy and does this. And I think that's what's so intriguing. But this Thunder Sky studio 12 days ago, she explains, actually, she'll explain to you what she did with this. But these are Kaylee's Instagram photos. And I just want to preface a little bit more. Pay attention, because what she did was she picked her highest liked photos on Instagram. And you'll see a pattern. Like, we look at them, here and there, we see pictures of the victims. But when you see them one after the other, I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. So take a listen. This is Thunder Sky Studio.
Did social media play a role in the murder of Kaylee and her roommates? This is not victim blaming her, rather questioning the consequences that social media has in our society, positive and or negative. This video contains some of the most liked images on Kaylee's Instagram, as well as some comments related to stalking and bedroom activities. Comments have been turned off out of respect for Kaylee, her family, and friends. I am so sorry for the tragic loss of these students' lives and broken hearts of their loved ones. My thoughts and prayers are with you.
Okay. You guys still with me?
Yep.
Yes.
Now, did that, strike any chords with you? I mean, as far as social media, I mean, beautiful. Kaylee was absolutely gorgeous girl. But as I watched that the first time, I pictured a creep like Brian or, any of these other creeps that we hear about that find these girls, via their social media and stuff like that. What do you think?
Well, I have I'm big on this. This was the hill I died on with my kids. So, this is the only social media I do. Like I have a thing about it. As a teacher, I saw what it was doing to kids, and so in my house, even though I was the crazy mom, it wasn't until you're 16 we're not having the conversation about social media. I mean, not that they couldn't use our stuff, but then we went through it and stuff. And I will tell you that it was like a part-time job. I spent tons of time just trying to make sure everything was okay, and still, my youngest got into some situations that I wish they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, um, the all beautiful, beautiful kids.
Mm-hmm.
They look like they're living their best lives, and not a single problem in any one of those pictures. Nothing.
Mm-mm.
I mean, I was in tears watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Just I can't even imagine how much hope and everything was in those people, and they're just living. The problem is that we just do not see that other people see us differently. And there are just some people in this world who are users and abusers, and it you should be able to walk around in your bathing suit and you look awesome.
I know, it's so
But
unfair. It really
it
is.
really is. And
And
as
it's
someone who was a little blonde girl, I mean, you get treated a certain way. I'm older now, but you get treated a certain way. And there wasn't anything in there that was extremely alarming. And yet, exactly what you said. All I can see is someone
yeah, I just think
watching
as
it.
a parent, I watch that and I'm like, and I'm like, oh, I just can imagine. Like, my daughter has everything on private, and like, I made sure her Snapchat, she was in ghost mode, and she's the same age as these girls, and it frightens me. It frightens me to my core, and I just think that social media has been so open since it started. We all started with Facebook, or we had MySpace, but the big thing, everybody
MySpace,
joined
yeah.
Facebook, and at first it was like a class reunion. It was like, oh my God, these people from high school, and then you'd put your pictures of your kids, and this is how it started. I was in my early 30s, and my kids were little, and it was like a photo album. My first Facebook is like a photo album of my kids growing up, and that was the photo album, or that's the Facebook that was hacked, and everyone thought that I was, over the top for feeling like my entire life was invaded, because I couldn't get my account back from Facebook. So if anybody's ever had an original Facebook and have it hacked where you can't get access to it again, it's like someone coming into your home. It's like somebody coming into your life and then using your photos and hosing them and then sending them back to you. So it's not fun. Social media can be very evil. And I just think it's important. I think that it's been so wide open that we need to now rein it in, reel it in, folks, reel it in with these kids. Start teaching them, about safety, not just handing them a phone with apps that are, sending their data straight to China or following their location in real time. It's just time to be smarter. And we have to be smarter than the creeps, right? And even if it's not fair, life isn't fair. And that's the first lesson that I think this younger generation needs to learn, is that just because, and I've had this discussion with my daughter, just because you should be able to wear a crop top doesn't mean that you always should, and it's unfortunate but it's the world we live in. And these predators have no self-control. None. And our daughters are sitting ducks for these sickos. And I just think it's time that we as adults and parents, even if you're an aunt or a cousin or a friend of someone's child, it never hurts to drop those seeds and maybe use this as an example. I don't know if this is how he found her, but I mean it's definitely can bring up a dialogue.
Yep.
And at the very least, and I think that whenever someone dies, that there's always something that can be learned from it, and it's not about victim blaming anyone. No one deserves to be killed, and no one should have to say that. That should be common knowledge, that no one deserves to die. But there's always a reason for why things happen, and I just think that we have to be smarter. That's all. So
It's kind of like locking your doors. Like, just lock your door. I shouldn't have to lock my door. Yeah, well, you know what? Just lock your door.
yeah, I mean, you shouldn't have to do a lot of things, but we unfortunately do, and I guess better safe than sorry, Because hindsight is always 20/20, isn't it?
It is.
The devil
And we haven't seen anything
is
of these kids
dancing
that would give
tonight.
me any reason to think anything but the best of any of them.
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
And
I mean, of all the things we've seen and heard, I'm not saying
well,
they're
yeah, to
perfect
talk
in
about
any
your
way, shape, or
drug
form.
connection, like that you brought up, like how people were saying that about the cartel or whatever. I don't know if anybody followed the case in California just the other day. I know Heather did. The cartel came in and took out a family, I think of 6, including the youngest one was a 10-month-old baby. They were shot, right in the head. And the 16-year-old was the mother of the 10-month-old. And she escaped from the house and ran down the street. And they chased her down. And they were standing over her on the sidewalk and shot her and the 10-month-old in the head. That is the cartel, right? The cartel doesn't send people on a wild goose chase of cell pings and knife sheaths. They get in, they do their job, and they get out. They're not sticking around. They're not driving around. They're not checking on the scene. They're gone. Like, as quick as they came in, they're gone. Yeah, it's literally an execution. Thank you, Ultra Dark. And Cherie, thank you for being a Roberta for 9 months. Thank you so much. Love you too. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's a little ridiculous. Even if they did do, ecstasy or something. I mean, in the 90s, raves were the thing. Downtown Detroit, there were empty warehouses. They had raves. People did ecstasy all day long. There was no quadruple murders. There was no, I just don't think that someone's going to go in and knife 4 people with a hunting knife over some ecstasy. It's just, it just doesn't sound right to me. And I just think that's not a theory that I want to explore because I just don't think it's reasonable. I think it's way more reasonable to look at social media and this dude's warped sense of reality and the way that he was rejected and never had a girlfriend. I mean, it's just like his dream right there. And if he can, like you said, be, look at the Austin, what was that? Anthony Shots Instagram. Whoever was using that could communicate with these girls and pretend that they were their age. Brian could have made an Instagram and communicated with these girls as someone else. We don't know.
Could have been 2 years ago. I mean, could have been in Pennsylvania. We don't, 100%. We don't know. That is the one thing I tell, what I know is I don't know. That's what adults should know. What you know is you don't know.
Right.
The things these kids are doing and into and seeing and exposed to and whatever will blow your mind.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. It's a different world. Definitely a different world. But I think that we need to, as parents as well, learn, our kids' world and what they're dealing with and what they're contending with. And I think that keeping that open communication, like my kids can tell me anything. And I think that that's so important. And it seems to me that these kids had that. They were close with their families. I mean, Kaylee's sister was like, we texted, if we weren't talking, FaceTiming, we were texting. So that's why I think they knew exactly what their kids were doing and their siblings and their daughters were doing and their son. I think because they kept in touch with them, you know? I don't know about Maddie. I mean, I haven't heard much from her family, but we do know that Gonsalva's family was very close. They were very in tune. And Xana, I think her family, I think her dad said that he heard from her at midnight and all was good. So maybe he texted her before he went to bed and, you know, good night, I'm going to bed, and all was good, you know? Hey, Boomer, babe. Thanks for being here. Yeah, so, all right, guys, on that note, I am going to close this out and go have my dinner and enjoy my Friday evening. You guys do the same. HJ, that smoke has been there for hours, girl.
I know.
I don't even know how you're even, like, awake right now. How are you doing it?
Beats me. I have no clue.
All I know is I hear doggy toenails, and I love it.
I was just going to say the same thing. I hear dogs on the ground.
It's Diesel toenails.
He wants to go out and play in the snow.
Oh, is it still snowing there?
I can't tell. It's dark.
Obvious onion. Ultra Dark calls incognito potato obvious onion. Oh my God. It's like another prepper. Are you sure you're not prepper, Ultra Dark? Yeah, stay safe out there, Brian. Brian, thanks for your input. I wish you would have called in maybe next time. Rough. Shelly Jenkins, I think he wiped the sheath down when he put gloves on, wiped it down, but missed that button. That's what you guys said too, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Possible. Yep.
All right,
I
guys.
had one more thing, Jay.
What?
Sorry.
Tell me. No,
one
tell
more
me.
thing.
What?
So listen, if you go on Google Maps, right, and you go to the street parallel to King Street, which would be where one might look if they were, say, sitting in a car watching the windows. And as we were going through, there are like maybe 5 trees, maybe 7 trees. I'm not sure exactly how many. They're all chopped down. And there they are. And you can pull off to the side and literally see right into the house. And on Google Earth, I don't know when the picture was taken. I think it said 2001, but I'm not sure. But all those trees were chopped down. So I noticed that. And so there you go.
Interesting.
It was in my book. I was supposed to tell you before I hung up. So.
Well, thank you so much. You know, I appreciate your input always. And thank you so much, chat, for your support. Cherie Tomlinson, member for 9 months. Logan, subscribe.
One-way ticket to hell.
Ho Dog, thank you for your commentary tonight. I think he wore that plastic that won't rip with nails. That is what I'm scared of. We need under fingernail stuff. Well, if he has scratches, which we thought that we saw some scratches, right? I think it's possible that there is, you know, DNA under fingernails as well. So we shall see. But welcome, Jackie Howard.
One-way ticket to hell.
And you guys dance it out. Enjoy the rest of your Friday, and I will see you soon. Take care and stay safe.
No offense, but shut your pie hole, lady.
I don't give a damn. I don't really care about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. Walk your finance out the door. About you and your problems. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn.
and we are coming for you.
Like, what the fuck is this? And everybody's like, what the fuck is this?
Did I ask them to do that?
You wanna be
Robbery.
You wanna be me. You wanna feel on the real, but I'm feeling different. Camper. You're making plans to get to friends, but don't wanna face the fact that I ain't got time. I ain't got time for that. Staying up late, sleeping all day, dreaming about Cadillacs.
What you are witnessing is real. The participants are not actors.
Calling my phone when you feel alone, but I'll never call you back. 'Cause I ain't got time.
You'll see Jay again, my friend. Jay's a winner, not